So, what happened previously? We were trying to get revenge on the previous guy because he was a dick. Oh, he was the worst. But then in so doing, we were like, you know what? We found this other guy and he seems to really like us. So he takes us to his manor in the woods, and it's beautiful, and we have our own stuff, and it's great, and we're having the best time. And then we're just kind of like, oh, he's not really showing up that much. But like he is, but he's not really like trying to marry us, even though he seems to really like us. And also we're getting bored because we can't really leave. I mean, we can, but we can't. And there's like 5 people to speak to, and they talk to us like we're, you know, like we can't be spoken to normally because we're a princess. I mean, you know, we're rich, and they're just like taking care of us. They're paid to talk to us. So we're just like, this is the worst. So we hatch a plan to kind of like really get the prince to like try and marry us, like, you know, get him to actually try. But every time we do, he kind of like, oh no, I don't know, what's that? Is that a bee? Oh god, I gotta go look for that bee. So he keeps trying to dodge us. And during this, we meet this traveling merchant whose name I've forgotten, but I do remember that I loved him a lot. He was amazing. And he's like, I'll tell you a story. And then he keeps coming by, telling us stories. And eventually, we divulge that we're really sad here. We're really lonely. We got nothing to do. And Princely over there is not really trying to marry us. And Traveling Merchant is like, okay, I'm going to give you some advice. You need to like get him to admit outright what his intentions are. So he's like, he needs to be honest because it seems like he's playing you, girl. And we're like, man, it does kind of feel that way. Eventually, we give in to Princely's trying to get us to sleep with him. So we eventually do. Under the premise that after we do this, he will marry us. So jokes, he doesn't do that. In fact, he now only comes in to sleep with us and doesn't actually speak to us or anything. And he leaves before we get up. So we tell Merchant about this, and Merchant is like, oh no, he doesn't seem like a good guy. I'm so sorry, Dev. And anyway, I gotta leave forever because I'm a merchant and I travel, and I need to find another place to travel and merchant to. And we're like, no, don't leave. We love you so much. But not really. He's like a good friend. But we're like, no, you're the only interesting thing here. Anyway, he leaves. And we're really sad. But eventually, he wasn't even good at it. That's the worst bit. He wasn't even good at it. He was terrible. He was terrible in bed. And eventually, we get preggers and we give birth to a child. And we're actually like, yay, this is great. And Prince is over there like, oh my god, a baby boy. And he's really excited. We're really excited. And he's like, I'm gonna eventually marry you soon. Anyway, his wife gets wind of this, who is the queen. And she finds out that we exist and this child exists, and she goes crazy. Giving her some benefit of a doubt, she has been in love with this guy for a very long time, and she's also trapped in the castle, nothing to do, whittling away at her because everyone around her is like, oh wow, she's not even that, wow, oh, and he doesn't even like her and he's cheating on her. Oh. So she's getting that for like every day of her life. So just giving her a little benefit of a doubt because what she's about to do is horrendous, okay? It is heinous, and that doubt is gonna go very quickly. Anyway, so she decides to lure us into the castle while the prince is away and kill our child and eat the child and kill us. Yeah, so it goes from 0 to 100 very quickly towards the end. And then we teleport back into time, and we are not doing good. We're very upset, and fair enough. That was probably the worst ending we'd gotten. And that was before I went to America. So then I had to take a huge break, and then lots of things happened. So that's why I haven't played this game in forever. But that's why I had to recap. So yeah, if that was your last session here, then you didn't miss anything, because the last time we played this game was in October. So don't worry. We're all on the same page. Okay, let us continue. We have to give her... We have a choice, I think, to tell her. And I think we've chosen to tell her. Godmother, I'm not exactly the Kiona you know. I have lived through this night before. I escaped the castle thanks... Oh yeah, because we got the flashback. We got the flashback that last time Godmother was helping us with the prince and all of that. She told us, if this happens again, and I don't want this to happen again, but if this happens again, I need you to tell me. You need to tell me that we've gone back in time. So we, thankfully, have actually gone through with that. I was really worried that we would just keep it from her again, because I think she will help us. I think she has our best interests at heart. Hello, Fatan. Yes, it's Chronotopia. We're all very excited about it. I'm so excited to finally get back, but also very worried because the last session did not go well. Helping with the prince, narrow it down, Coco. It happened thrice. The last time with the baby. That one. I escaped from the castle thanks to you, but things took a turn for the worst and I died. Or rather, I was about to die when I summoned you. I hastily wished to go back in time, and since then, I keep dying in atrocious circumstances. During my last attempt, you noticed that my behavior was suspicious, and I confessed everything. You then asked me to tell you the truth should the situation repeat again. This is what I am doing now. The princess looked up, plunging her gaze into the fairy's eyes. It was tormented, burning like fire, and the fairy thought she had caught a glimpse of her suffering in it. I implore you, Godmother, help me. I do not want to perish once more. For the first time since they had met, Medea stayed silent, and the young woman knew it was not a good sign. After long seconds, she finally spoke. I would like to thank you for your honesty, and I request that you keep your word again should this not be our last discussion on the matter. Then she kept quiet again, and walked a few steps with a pensive look. I suppose my other self must have already admonished you copiously for the recklessness of your actions. More or less. You did not reprimand me, but you really wanted to. You also said that, if I was doomed to relive the same night over and over again, you were likewise doomed to grant my wish, and were thus prepared to act to get us both out of this vicious cycle. Indeed. I am inclined to do everything in my power to break the deadlock. However, I will need more information. Give me a detailed account of what happened to you, from the original timeline to your last death. But Godmother, time is running short. Do you sincerely believe that blindly rushing forward is going to help? It is important to examine the situation from all sides before taking any decision. It will probably strip you of a good chunk of your night, but you will see this time is well spent. Very well, Godmother. I agree. I feel like we've been rushing into things way too much, and that's why we're making bad decisions. Without further delay, Kiona presented the totality of her misfortunes to the fairy, who listened as attentively as possible. She especially lingered over her stay at the Claremont's domain and how it had gone out of control. I see. Thank you for this overview of the situation. Victim blaming the time loop, girl! I'm just saying, things haven't been going well. As my alter ego must have already explained to you, your wish must have seemed acceptable when you first expressed it, but it is actually a cursed one. One does not play with time with impunity. Each time you repeat that wish, you become more and more reliant on this power. You retain increasingly larger traces of magic on you. It is only going to lure bad luck. What does this mean? You no doubt think that such a power provides you unlimited chances to change the course of time, but there is a trap in that reasoning. You would have known it if you had talked to me sooner. Each time you go back to the past, you actually reduce your probability of obtaining a happy ending. This is the World Tree's way of preventing humans from damaging the rules that determine the cosmos. Time itself tries to absorb the issue by suppressing the disruptive element. Any lesion in the fabric of time is punished more severely each time. When the disruptive element is an individual, it is very likely that they will meet a very tragic fate. If you keep going, you will only exacerbate your situation. Oh, great! But this is horrible. Is that why my deaths are becoming more and more brutal? Because I played with time? Exactly. I would advise you stop immediately if you do not want your next death to be your last. Is it even possible for me to do otherwise? I'm only going back in time to escape death. I do not think this is entirely true. You're certainly making fateful mistakes that lead to your peril. But are you not taking the easy way out too, even if that perceived easiness is a lie? Had you accepted to pay the fairies tribute, you would not have had to begin again. I know I was wrong, but I cannot proceed any differently. Do not let yourself be restricted by your bias. You can carry out a different plan. You simply need to realize it. This does not help me very much, Godmother. Medea sighed, rolling her eyes. Welp, that was helpful. Very well, very well. What is your intention? What do you intend to do after what happened at Claremont? Hide inside the golden bull new? What does that mean? What can we do that's new in the situation? I'm going to return there naturally. Really? Considering how your adventure ended, I have trouble understanding why you would want to relive it. This timeline indeed ended in disaster, but I was on the brink of fulfilling myself. I had given birth to Prince Thali's son and heir, and he was ready to repudiate his wife should the child survive. Do you realize your success relies on countless parameters you have no control over? All I need to do is repeat the same events until I reach a favorable moment, do I not? I do intend to denounce the odious wife before she commits her misdeed. In order to escape death and convince the king, I hold all the cards. Your plan is brilliant on paper, yet shaky in practice. My dear, know that it is impossible to flawlessly repeat the events of a timeline. Why is that? Luck, love, luck. Some events are the result of shifting parameters. Thus, going back in time resets the counters. You cannot possibly predict what new outcomes await you. For example, you have given birth to a baby, yet the mortality rate is very high. It is not uncommon for the mother to be taken by an infection. How can you know you are not going to die during labor this time around? That's true. We were very close to it last time. I might be of a very resistant nature. Either way, I can only be sure of it by trying one more time. Admittedly. But you are missing the point of my original argument. It is impossible for everything to proceed exactly the same way as before. Do you have a better idea? I see none as of now. You do not seem able to hatch a different plan anyway. I can see it in your eyes. What are you truly trying to accomplish? I wish to avenge myself. I want to protect what remains of that life. I feel like in her head, she's probably more on the lines of, I want to get revenge. But I feel like there's also a part of her, I feel like it could be either way. I'm going to go with this because I feel like revenge only leads to everyone suffering, so. Oh, what does that mean? As I told you earlier, despite my failure, I had nonetheless started to build a life for myself. I was the lady of a small country house, and the main mistress of a powerful lord. I was not entirely alone anymore, thanks to the birth of his heir. He was finally showing me affection. Retainers were taking good care of me, and a little human being was dependent on me. It hardly seems healthy to me to think in those terms. You're willing to risk your life for that, for the mere hint of a partially satisfactory situation. Yeah, it's not the best, but I mean, I don't know, I can't think of a better one. Admittedly, my life was far from perfect. I say we go back to the farm. TBH, but I cannot tolerate to see those long months of boredom being reduced to nothing. I want to salvage what I had managed to build there, in the face of all opposition. Even though none of this ever existed, it is a shame to look back when you can move forward. My past is also my future. I am a princess. I aspire to become queen, as my ancestors did before me. I cannot let myself die and disgrace them. And why not? Have you lost your mind, godmother? Why would I let myself get killed? Correct me if I am wrong, child, but you expressed the wish to go back to this night to escape death. Is that not it? You wanted another chance. That is right. I wanted to find a more favorable outcome. Did it cross your mind that it may not be possible? What do you mean? The world tree works in mysterious ways, and I could be wrong, but your destiny might be to perish to break free from your father. If that were the case, any attempt to avoid death can indeed only worsen, as one does not escape their destiny. Nonsense! If it was impossible to defy death, then you lied to me when you claimed you could make any of my wishes come true, even the wildest ones. You did not wish to defy death, you wished to go back in time, which is completely different. I was not joking when I said the consequences of such power must not be overlooked. In that case, should I simply ask you to save me without having to start over? This is one of the many possibilities offered to you in such a situation. I can undo your wounds, avenge you, switch souls and bodies in such a way to reflect your enemy's cruelty back at them. Except that you will have to pay the fairies tribute this time. Ah yes, that is true. What was the price again? Medea blinked, stunned. Do you not remember? It's just that I've been through so many things lately, I'm starting to lose myself. Losing yourself is indeed the right term. You have changed, princess. You have changed a lot. Is that not natural after all those misfortunes? I do not believe I'm in the wrong in stating that the lost timeline has disrupted your whole being, far beyond what you think. If the previous attempts had initiated the work, this one finished it. Oh, oops! I beg your pardon. Okay. The creature turned away, deep in thought. Godmother? Uh-oh. The fairy finally walked toward her, with an almost menacing look. A shadow projected on the wall suddenly made her look monstrous. With glistening ruby-red eyes, she whispered into her ear. Beware, you have not lost sight. You have lost sight of what is truly important. And then, she casually stepped backwards, and the illusion vanished. With a fake smile, she patted her shoulder. It hardly matters. You are in a hurry, are you not? Do get ready, and I will hide you inside the golden bull like last time. You will find me in the hallway once you are finished. Upon these brief words, she left through the door. Fiona was speechless. It was not so much her terribly mundane exit, although it did remove a lot of her fairy charisma, but what she had murmured that was troubling her. I do not understand. What is Medea trying to tell me? She shrugged and soon went back to what she was doing. Probably a warning, but I will quickly prove to her that she is wrong. I am stronger than fate. Nothing is unavoidable. Uh-oh. Time traveler arrogance. Once donned, the young woman left her room and met her godmother. I see that you are dressed, princess. Yet I cannot help noticing that you have been on your own since a little while ago. You did not wish to keep your trusty retainer close to you? I considered it more useful to dismiss her for the night. I do appreciate Nahima a lot, but she can only hinder me at such a crucial moment. But enough talking. The prince is waiting for me. Girly pop. She was so eager to reach the throne room, she did not notice a sad expression fully visible on Medea's face. Taking advantage of the princess's absent-mindedness, she softly whispered, "She is in the process of crossing the line. I can feel it. It would be wiser to cast a spell on myself, so I can preserve my memories. I know I should not interfere, but this night promises to be never-ending. For her, and for me. Mortals, why do you have to be so stubborn?" Thus, Kiona's plan was executed exactly as it was. She concealed herself in the golden bowl and slumbered while the whole castle was losing its head over her disappearance. And we've never seen... Maybe we have. Nahima was especially heartbroken. She rightly understood the princess had deliberately kept her away from her evasion and was now skeptical about seeing her again. "Why, princess? Why did you not say anything to me? I would love to believe you did it for my own good, but my heart tells me I have been forsaken. Was I just another obstacle on your journey? Have you always thought of me that way?" The young woman's complaints remained unanswered. A few days later, her mistress was transported with the convoy, and Nahima never heard from her again. Just as she did the previous time, Kiona regained consciousness in King Thali's bedroom and hastily came out of the bowl to be able to officially meet him. When she finally caught sight of him, astounded, standing in the middle of the room, she could not help giving an evil smile. "Got you. This time I'm going to ensure that I do not make any mistakes. You will fall in love with me, I swear it." Putting on the most surprised and fearful look in the world, the young Moor endeavored to repeat their very first conversation. Thus, she did not hesitate to throw herself at his feet again and force tears to come out so that her story would seem more authentic. "Come now, fair lady, dry your tears. I mean you no harm." The prince helped her get back on her feet with a warm and charming smile. However, she was this time able to notice that he was removing his wedding ring in the back. And trying to hide it in one of his pockets. What a rascal. I was so busy focusing on my blossoming love that I did not see your little game. The truth was right under my nose from the very beginning. Traitor, I will force you to choose me this time. Oh no. Once again, Thali swore protection and loyalty to the young woman and dragged her along in his carriage toward his secondary residence. Kiona had a hard job simulating the same surprise she had in the past upon discovering Claremont's domain for the first time. She had paced the same rooms and the same hallways so much that she nearly knew them inside out, yet she had to feign admiration in front of this place she was living in on a daily basis, even if it meant exaggerating. After all, this was all a big seduction campaign on the part of the prince, and she knew that all too well. So she sighed, so she gasped, and so she joined her hands in a childish posture and complimented her guide, so much so that he took her aside at the end of their tour. "I am delighted to see that my palace is to your liking, princess. To think that I was afraid it might seem too small to you. My fears have been allayed." "Absolutely not, my lord. This is very charming property you have." "Would you like to own it? All you have to do is say the word." "My, all these riches all to myself? You would fulfill my life, my lord. I was not asking for that much." As she had predicted, the monarch gifted to her the property she was singing the praises of. Encouraged by the flattery of his guest, he struck out his chest, believing that she was a rather naive girl who would be so easy to satisfy. Things I have to do. Thus, Kiona spent a very tedious day in the company of Thali. Given that she knew everything he was going to show her, or tell her beforehand, she struggled to pretend to be the same person as a once optimistic girl oops, who had trod on the gardens for the first time. No, she was not the same anymore. How empty and pointless his speeches are. I would like us to finally get down to business. At last, the sovereign tried to leave her. Oh no, are we gonna, get with him on the first night? This might turn out very differently. He had promised to welcome Seraphine, who was returning from a stay with her parents, and thought he could go back to the castle before nightfall. I'm sorry, my lady, but I already have to go. Very urgent matters await me at the castle, and I must absolutely settle them. However, the princess had not anticipated the consequences of this simple event. Oh no, he is leaving. But if he does leave, we are going to court each other for weeks again. I do not want to have to play hard to get for an eternity. I do not have the luxury of waiting anymore. I may be able to slightly alter the flow of time. After all, it is an emergency. No, girl! You are conspicuously silent, fair lady. Could you be troubled by my departure? Blushing, her eyes down, she grabbed his arm and clung to him. What she was about to do was incredibly embarrassing, but she was convinced it was the best solution. Do you really need to leave, my lord? Alas, I have to. She moved even closer, pressing her body against his. He jumped a little but tried to suppress his nascent turmoil. I beg of you, do not leave me alone. Not so soon. I have just been through so many things. I need someone to keep me company. I know that your father's madness greatly affected you, and I understand your pain, but we will meet again soon, I promise you. Oh no. Set on not giving up, Kiona slowly leaned her head toward his face and whispered, What can I do to convince you? Her breath was reaching the back of his neck, and Thali's face turned red in return. He had intended to give her more time, but the stranger seemed to insist on moving on to the next step. As he was not used to forward women, his confident pretty words instantly melted into a flood of mumbling. Do not insist, my lady, my counselors. But I am going to feel so lonely. Besides, should I not thank you for saving me? It would be the least I can do. He could not lie. Those words are terribly tempting. The princess was of extraordinary beauty, and very much to his taste. Besides, he was hardly seeing his other mistresses anymore, since the last one had a miscarriage during her pregnancy. It made him really demoralized about his chances of having a child one day. But this one seemed different. Perhaps it would work with her. Once a bad bitch, gets scared. For real, what happened to all of his confidence? The possibility to combine pleasure with practicality made the offer irresistible. Seduced, he put up one last resistance for form. I would greatly appreciate to spend a night with you, I swear, but I've made a promise and it would hurt me a lot to break it. Really? Even if it is only once? Although she was putting on an act, Kiona was in part sincere. She was truly anxious and felt obliged to speed things up to obtain some affection. At least, she thought her method would be effective, and it was. Moments after, the prince nervously kneaded the collar of his cape and sighed. That was easy. You have convinced me. I will stay tonight, but it is solely to make you happy, princess. Just allow me to let the castle know, so nobody would be worried by my absence. Of course. Wow. As she was watching him whisper something to his retainers from a distance, Kiona bore a triumphant smile. Truly, I wonder why I foolishly waited for him to make a move, while all I had to do was take action myself. Probably because we wanted to get married to him and not do anything else. Prince Thali did not need to be asked twice. Despite his initial protests, wait, does he not wear shoes? Or are those long tights his shoes? What is going on with his outfit? He quickly laid in bed, closely followed by the young woman. As she was taking off her clothes, she was suddenly overcome by doubt. It is strange. Although I am technically a virgin again, as I went back in time, I can feel my chest tighten. Something seems fake. Immediately looked at his feet. Tell us more, Coco. No, it's because when I look at people's feet, it's because I always wonder how they're being drawn. Because it was like the stumps that I usually draw, and then I realized, wait, he's not wearing shoes. Leave me alone. It's all because of art. If my body is a blank page, my mind is not. I will have to lie down and fake surprise, even though I know this man by heart. It is as if I was cheating on him with himself. Oh, don't worry, girl. They're both bad anyway. She shook her head, and he took that as a sign of modesty. No, I must not think about those things. History simply repeats itself. Why are we the only one that gets naked? Why isn't he ever naked? As she climbed into bed with him for the second time, she was deciding on her first time. While Kiona was frolicking with her paramour, night had fallen, and a carriage had stopped in front of the monarch's castle. Light stormy rain had hit the convoy, and the heavy air was announcing the best days of summer. A hooded finger was nimbly sneaking inside to avoid those few water drops. Oh no, here she is. Once sheltered from the rain, she took off her hood, and long locks of blonde hair escaped from it. I don't remember what she sounded like. It was a close call. She was welcomed by servants who hurried to took her coat. Welcome back, Lady Seraphine. The young woman returned the courtesy with a faint smile. Thank you. Was the rest cure good for you? Yes, it did a world of good. I feel much better now. She didn't sound like this, I'm pretty sure, but go off, girl. What did she sound like? I don't remember. I did the recap, but I forgot her voice. As she was entering the great hall to warm up by the fire, she quickly noticed something unusual, deeper. Pardon me, is Lord Thali here? I thought he was supposed to wait for my return. Colder sounding, okay. Not me thinking deeper means probably the Slavic voice. The retainers quietly stared at each other in the hope that one person among them that knew the answer would speak. Thankfully for them, it did not take long for a counselor to appear. It's fine. She was just out and, you know, she was feeling a little bit stuffy, so she was in her high, and now she's back in the castle and she's sad again. He forwarded us a letter to inform you he has been delayed and would not be able to meet you tonight as intended. Oh. Lady Seraphine looked down, disappointed. Wait, she was Southern! I remember. Do you know when he will be back? Probably tomorrow. Please forgive me. I cannot give you more details than that. It hardly matters. I will wait. Keen not to inconvenience anyone, the queen kept her chagrin to herself. She would usually converse with her husband every time she would pay a visit to her parents to keep him informed about the newest developments. It was one of the very few opportunities they had to talk to each other, so it meant a lot to her. Would you like a light meal? Excellent idea. I am tired by this long trip. It will undoubtedly be good for me. Seraphine had unknowingly endured the beginning of a long series of revenges coming from a rival she did not know existed yet. Ooh. When Kiona began to emerge, the sun was showing up again. Girly doesn't know anything. Man, how would y'all feel if you pissed off someone in a different timeline and then they were just a dick to you before you did anything bad? How would you feel? How would you take that? Would you kind of like assume you did something bad to them? Or would you be like, what is going on? He turned to Thalie to see if he was still sleeping, but his side of the bed was already empty. Of course. Why am I not surprised? Although this behavior was nothing but predictable on the part of the prince, considering their past relationship, she could not help biting her lips with bitterness. He is abandoning me again like a mere toy. At the end of their previous life, Thalie had wanted to make amends for his absence and be here more often, especially for his son. Of course, his resolutions were no longer relevant, but the young Moor still remembered them so distinctly that she had no trouble associating them with the past. Incidentally, it was very difficult for her to make a clean break. To her, only a few hours had elapsed between the time she had woken up in the same bed for the last time, the day of Lady Seraphine's invitation, and the present time. She had gone back to her childhood castle since then, but that period of time had been so short it seemed like a dream. As she remained withdrawn into her thoughts, a servant suddenly walked into the room, leaving the door wide open. Still befogged but aware of her nudity, Fiona pulled the sheets toward her chest and looked daggers at them. Good morning! Lord Thalie let us know that you would be the mistress of the house from now on, and... How many times do I have to repeat that I do not get out of bed so early? They don't know this yet. Her interlocutors goggled at her. Too used to her previous life, the princess had acted by reflex, yet it should have been her first official discussion with the ones that would become her ladies-in-waiting. Twice as embarrassed by her blunder, she tried to correct herself, fumbling for the right words. Uh-oh. They're gonna want to kill her! No! My apologies. I am still in a daze. The retainers only appeared half convinced, but pretended to believe her. You did not bath yesterday night, and we thought you would assuredly like to take this one this morning. Great idea. They're gonna kill us. They're gonna smother us in our sleep. Fiona let the servants take care of her, too happy to divert attention from her blunder and wash herself. With their usual talent, they rubbed her hair with several decoctions, all emitting a pleasant scent, and complimented her on how well she has been taking care of herself. Despite their cajoling smile, the young woman caught some nudges and murmuring several times, and became increasingly wary. Oh, right. So foolish. Did you see how her high and mighty air crumpled? That'll teach her to think she's superior. Fiona twitched in her bath. She had not forgotten the snickers that had spread back when she had learnt that Thalie was treating her as a mistress. Her heart had just been broken, her hopes jeopardized. The whole household had mocked her over and over again. The trust she had put in them had instantly suffered. It was one thing to be the last to know, but the fact that her own retainers dared to slander their mistress was intolerable. Oh, she had said nothing at the time, as she was full of grief. She had admittedly swallowed her anger, but she had not forgotten. It seemed to her that her ladies-in-waiting were laughing at her situation again, and that stinging affront was awakening her wrath. Oh no, this is not gonna go well. The princess did not handle the first days at Claremont's domain very well. The whole building was imbued with unpleasant memories. She felt deeply uncomfortable, as if she was now living among ghosts. Hunted by a feeling of imminent danger, she tried as much as possible to avoid the rooms that could remind her about it. To make matters worse, she was already starting to get bored. Naturally, she was tempted to resume the activities she started in the previous timeline, but she could not focus on anything anymore. I could go play cards with the retainers again, but I do not trust them anymore, not after what they have done to me. Why waste my time? They will never truly appreciate me, They've proved it by giving me up to Seraphine. I do not want to have fun with traitors. There's only one person we can trust. Both optimistic about her future and disillusioned, Fiona ultimately hid away in her room and requested that she would not be disturbed. She would stay there for hours and hours, staring into space, recounting her journey and dreaming about the happy ending within her reach. See, I don't get why we didn't just wake up Nahima and tell her, hey, we're gonna run away to this prince. You need to come meet us over there and we can hang and we can have like a girl time. You know? We'll have company here. The profound loneliness that was taking hold of her little by little brought unfortunate consequences. By thinking over and over again, she was eventually cutting herself off from the present time. Nothing could find favor in her eyes anymore. She was becoming cold, indifferent. As someone said, she's raw dogging silence. What the fuck? That is definitely a term. Imagine both of them squeezing into the bull statue. Well, no, not take her with us in the bull statue. But she's a servant. She can leave the castle without people being like, no. Like, you know, give her a month or two, then leave the castle and never come back again. You know? No one would notice. Like, the whole castle falls into ruin anyway, so what are they gonna do? Prisoner of the past, she was haunted by all the sins she had ever committed and ceaselessly rehashed them in her head, gradually stirring her secret resentment. Yeah, she definitely could have, but it seems like she is so focused on how bad things are getting that she's not thinking about solutions that, you know, can encompass anyone else. I feel like her trust in people has just completely plummeted, you know? Between two reveries, she would take a light meal alone on her patio and contemplate the changing beauty of the garden. Servants could only notice the unusual behavior of the young recluse. Have you seen the lady of the house? I haven't come across her all day. It said she rarely leaves her quarters. When she's not in her room, she's on the patio. You'd think she is avoiding us. And yet she seemed like a great lady when she first came here. Ever since, she's been weird, almost sickly. Do you think she's fragile? It's entirely possible. Why does she not say so? They all shrugged on the fence. No, we could have been friends if we tried. If only we tried. Instead, we just have this asshole. Although the princess's days were tinged with gloominess, she would drastically change as soon as Thali paid her a visit, and he would do so quite frequently. She would then appear dressed in her most beautiful attire and act with a sunny disposition. The young people would thus spend considerable time together, bantering in the sun or in the heat of their bedroom. Although Fiona was well aware of the self-serving nature of her lover, he would rarely come without offering her sexual intercourse. She had the impression that she was reliving the romantic beginnings of their couple, and she was fine with that, for now. In fact, the presence or the absence of the monarch would call the shots in the house, and it was like night and day. If Thali were here, the princess would show unlimited kindness and become unrecognizable to the servants. But as soon as he would return to the castle, her face would instantly revert to a sullen one, and she would retreat into silence again. Do you think the young mistress is hurting for love? What do you mean by that? She seems sad because the king leaves her behind so often. I saw her sigh so much last time he departed, it would have blown off a barn's roof. Now that you're pointing it out, it's blindingly obvious. But if she's dying of love, how's she gonna react upon learning that Thali lied to her? He breaks all the girls' hearts anyway. He's proudly unable to take it on himself and say the difficult things. Ever since Lady Kiona's here, He's neglecting the other mistresses. He was already neglecting them a little before her arrival, but you're right. That's what you get by putting majestic birds in tiny cages. They eventually die of sadness one day. Maybe that's the reason he still hasn't had any children. God is punishing him for his mistreatments. Heaven forfend! What tells you that this one is not going to succumb to the same strange illness? The retainer pressed a hand against her mouth. Without knowing it, she had put words that were dangerously in line with reality on the uneasy feeling surrounding Kiona. Uh-oh. Indeed, she herself was unaware of her biggest secret. How weary I feel. Ever since I have returned to Claremont, I keep yawning and rubbing my eyes in the middle of the day. I wonder why. The princess lay down in her comfy little bed, hoping that a good night's sleep would cure her temporary feebleness. The STDs? No! She hardly had time to think about it because the fatigue made her close her eyes in an instant. Shortly after, she was falling into darkness. Although she was lying down, she felt her body slip with her mind, further and further downward. Her arms caught in her bedsheets. She continued to inexorably fall in gracious movement. My first thought was, oh no, like, the time travel is just weighing on her and she's gonna get, like, you know, when your brain kind of like falls apart, your body falls apart? I didn't even think about STDs, but he is kind of like getting it on with everyone. Slowly, almost involuntarily, her eyes opened, and the darkness that was engulfing her took on a blue tint. Compressed in her dress, she tried to take a deep breath, a big breath of air, but her throat seemed blocked. She could neither speak or breathe. Her chest on fire, she powerlessly watched her tears turn into bubbles and rise to the surface in an almost artistic momentum. I thought cancer! These are all things that I probably hope aren't happening. No, Fleur! I'm just saying, the best timeline was when we were with Fleur. None of the others can compare. I miss them. I miss Fleur and her family. Even though it didn't end up well, and they kind of killed us. even if they drowned us. I miss it. Fleur, do not do that. Give me your hand, catch me. I beg of you, we can still be friends. Heartbroken, the young Moor let herself be submerged by the net curtains, which, seemingly driven by their own free will, completely surrounded her. She tried to get rid of the fabric, but she was suddenly feeling too heavy, as if she was mired. She was still running out of air and windmilling her arms to no avail, colliding with a physical barrier in the process. The ground felt dreadfully cold, freezing even, and the wind was blowing. I wonder how cold it is to be under the earth. The shroud dropped and she saw the flowers growing everywhere in her body, their roots planted in her skin, swallowing her blood. Oh, that's gnarly! No, someone, anybody, get me out of here! I do not want to die! As Kiona was shrieking, overtaken by spasms, eyes wide open, retainers rushed to the bedroom to calm her down. Madam, everything is all right. You're only in your room. I have trouble breathing. Free me, I beg you. Free me. In tears, she was imploring, stamping, gesticulating. A lady-in-waiting tried to pat the back of her hand in a gesture of appeasement, but she automatically escaped from her grip. Madam, wake up! You are among us. Nothing will happen to you. Finally, her screams and protests weakened, and she seemed to go back to sleep, to the great relief of the servants she had woken up. The next morning, when her ladies-in-waiting went to her bedside to ensure that she had recovered from the incident, They found Kiona to be as haggard as usual. Madam, wake up, we ejected the imposter. They are no longer among us, TM. Madam, are you unwell? Not as far as I know. Why? You look a bit pale. I was thinking that some nightmares could have disturbed your sleep. Oh, hi Coco, long time no see. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Helia. Yes. We're very excited to play this again. I'm finally back from America and I'm sorry, I just realized my tea bag was in my tea for like how long has it been? An hour? That's gonna be very bitter. That's fine. But yeah, I did a whole recap and everything, and I'm ready to continue. But things are not going great, as usual. Strong tea to get me through now. It's true, but it's gonna be so bitter. Actually, it's not that bad. Making the prison brew. Listen, I'm just playing the character. Kiona's suffering, I'm suffering. We're basically living the same situation right now. Really? Yet I had none. At least I do not remember having nightmares. It's true, the timeline is just a very bitter cup of tea. When the maiden was completely unaware... Oh, what the maiden was completely unaware of is that she had fallen victim to regular night terrors that were shaking the whole house. Even though the commotion would wake all the retainers up, she had no recollection of it. Oh, oops. Get out of here. Yeah, it seems like maybe mentally she's suffering something new. Which makes sense, but maybe not like what we were thinking. Maybe it's not just an STD or like cancer. Those awful fits consequently did not fail to irritate them. She did it last night. Guess what? I know this full well. I got out of bed in the middle of the night to calm her down. Everyone was there for that matter, not you. I prefer to stay in my bedding. I'm starting to become sick and tired of the racket. You think I'm thrilled about it, maybe? I too would give a lot to get a full night's sleep. I told you the lady of the house was sick, didn't I? No sane person would bawl like that. It sounded like a pig being slaughtered. That's nonsense. Before coming to Claremont, I've been in Lady Seraphine's service at the main palace for a while, and I can clearly see the difference. Our new boss is hiding something, that's for sure. What could she be hiding? I don't have any idea, but to scream that way, she has to have experienced war. The servants' displeasure was such that some were annoyed to death and sometimes acted rather brusquely towards her. She did not understand why. One morning, Kiona having risen up earlier than usual, she went to the kitchen to request breakfast. The matron prepared some oatmeal and placed the bowl on the table so violently that its contents nearly splattered her surroundings. Taken aback, the young Moor grabbed it. What on earth happened to her? As the matron was turning her back to her, too busy watching a cooking pot, she distinctly heard her mumble, "Fleur, Fleur, don't do that. If I knew who this Fleur was, I'd gladly kill her." Damn! No sooner had she said that than Kiona went to lock herself in her room, shaken. How could she possibly know Fleur? I have never talked about her to anyone except my godmother, and it is impossible for Medea to tell them anything. She came to a realization. Yeah, girl. Could it be the retainers have been spying on me? No, girl. When would you have told anyone anything anyway, with them overhearing? It would not be that far-fetched after all. They are the ones who handed me over to Lady Seraphine last time. No, girl. Besides, they've always been apathetic towards me. I'm convinced that they are all under her orders and ready to do anything to harm me. The princess banged her fists on her bedside table. I knew it. The retainers are against me. They are all my enemies. I cannot rely on them. I should stay alert. Maybe they have already been ordered to dispose of me by any means, but I will not let this happen. Ruh-roh. I mean, I guess they weren't really on her side anyway, but this is definitely not gonna help. From this moment on, Kiona frankly became hostile toward the other occupants of Claremont. She would not smile at them anymore, and frequently scowled at them so much so that they had a hard time finding excuses for her irreverent conduct. This is just gonna get worse and worse because now they're going to genuinely hate her instead of just being grumpy. Her ladies-in-waiting were the first ones to acknowledge it. Madam, would you like us to bring you some refreshments? It is scorching hot today. I would like that, but I will go to the kitchens myself to see how the drinks is being prepared. You shouldn't bother yourself for so little. Still, I want to do it. Would you be worried about the ingredients we use? I am worried about you. I don't understand. Ignoring her maid's protests, the princess went past her and whispered in her ear, I know what you are saying behind my back, deceivers. Oh. And she vanished, leaving the poor girl shocked. Fiona had no doubt believed that she had silenced those whom she considered to be her enemies. But apart from the night incidents which were supremely exasperating them, the retainers had not said anything too mean about her. On the contrary, she had kindled what she was trying to smother. It's true. Unfortunately, when it comes to bullying, when you bring it up, it makes it worse, which is unfortunate. But if it's not happening and then you bring it up, that's going to lead to people talking about you. The girl immediately talked about the incident with the rest of the household. You said the mistress was sick. I can no longer believe it. She seems to insinuate that we're all in league against her. My, this is rather damning. Does she have a plan in mind? Do you think she's trying to take possession of the domain? Don't be stupid. This is only a small property. She can already do what she wants here. If she were after power, she'd go to the main castle. What if it was her goal, seducing the Lord, take Seraphine's place on the throne, and have them subsequently murdered? It doesn't hold water. She just arrived, and becoming Thali's mistress already gives her the opportunity to be legitimated one day, if she manages to give him an heir. It's not that stupid. Her behavior dramatically changes as soon as the prince is around. We've attributed that to an indisposition of some sort or mood swings, but what if it was on purpose? What do you mean? Lady Kiona might be acting in a two-faced manner. Even more bizarre, I don't know what you think, but I have zero faith in her. They all nodded in concert. Oh no! Fairy Godmother, can we reset? We've kind of fucked up the timeline. Although none of them truly understood the young Mora's intentions, they were now openly distrustful of her, which was feeding her growing paranoia. I can rely on no one but myself. I know that they have something against me. I can see it on their faces, in their sighs, but it is going to change soon. That being said, even in the timeline where she tried to get along with them, and she wasn't like this, one of them did betray her. It wasn't all of them, but they weren't friends with her, and they weren't trying to be, and they did kind of look down on her anyway. But in this situation, they might actively try and kill her, so that's probably the difference. Although one of them did try and kill her, so... You can't win. You just can't win here. Thali was visiting her a lot, but it was still not enough. She wanted more than fulfilling the role of a mistress. She was hungry for his affection, his support. Though she did not hesitate to repeat the same manipulation. I must unfortunately leave you, dearest. So soon? Why not return tomorrow instead? We could spend the night together. I have committed to having a discussion with my counselors this very day for an important meeting. Fiona held back a sneer. She had come to understand that her lover was very bad at lying. Whenever he would mention work, it was almost always because he had to go to his wife. And since she hated her, she fully intended to indirectly hurt her. So once again, She looked at him with puppy dog eyes and begged until he yielded. Fine, fine, do not cry, my lady. I will stay until dinner. Is that all right with you? Pleased with her success, she beamed an angelic smile that gradually turned into a cynical sneer. However, the prince spoke very little during the evening meal. He seemed to not have much of an appetite and kept glancing toward the clock. Hurt in her pride, the heiress understood that he was preoccupied by his spouse and frowned in turn. She tried a few times to unsuccessfully rekindle the conversation, and a heavy silence settled for good. Once supper was over, Thali grabbed his coat, visibly in a hurry. As she could not allow herself be beaten, she strived to continue her pity campaign, so that he would spend the night at Claremont. While he usually gave in quite easily, his reply was sharp and firm this time. No, my lady, I ask you to leave me alone. I am expected at the castle. Are you really sure that— Absolutely sure, my lady. Have a good night. I will see you soon. Without delay, he jumped onto his carriage and disappeared into the night. Thali was a man who had difficulty saying no to anything, and the dream girl who inhabited his secondary residence certainly knew how to squeeze what she wanted out of him. But something was off. He's getting tired of her. During his trip through the forest, he kept pondering why he had been feeling uneasy around Kiona lately. He could not precisely put his finger on what was wrong, but one thing was for sure: all of this was going way too fast. He had only recently met her, yet she seemed to act as if she had known him her whole life. As if she was reading his mind, giving him exactly what he wanted to see or hear. They never argued or disagreed, and she never complained either. Such perfection was suspect. You could never win with him either! In fact, everything was going so well that the prince was unsure whether he should get closer to her or not, especially as she seemed oddly dependent. Left alone on the patio, Kiona sighed, disappointed. This must be the first time he has resisted me. At least I have hurt his spouse by holding him back a few more hours. Retaina saw her talking to herself and immediately gathered in the kitchen. I told you so, she's scheming something. It seems she's separating the master and Lady Seraphine on purpose. Could it be she's aware of her existence? But that's impossible. I pity the poor woman. She's done nothing wrong and Lady Kiona's making every effort to harm her. That's right, I've never particularly appreciated her, but I'd rather serve her than this schemer. Oh my god. What the princess failed to anticipate is that if Thali was a man who rarely gave his word, it was because he could not imagine breaking it. Thus, when he had promised his wife he would dine with her that night, and his lover prevented him from doing that, she had pushed him into committing one perjury too many. Indeed, the monarch had ordered his coach driver to gallop and rushed into the castle without even bothering to take his coat off. He hurried into the banquet hall like a cannonball. Seraphine! Seraphine! The queen, who had been waiting near the fire for a few hours, turned to him, intrigued by such panic. I am here, my lord. What is happening? Have you had an accident on your way back? No, everything is quite all right, my lady. But you are out of breath. Have you been running? It's just that I had sworn that I would dine with you tonight, and I had broken my promise yet again. I suppose that you have been held up by some important business again. It is fine. You seem very busy as of late. Seraphine was receiving his betrayal with such kindness that it upset him even more. Wow, now he's getting upset by breaking his promises. I have been lying to you for so long, and even though I am avoiding you and treating you with such coldness, you're still making the effort to be here for me. It's too unfair. I cannot continue like this. Imbued with a kind of determination he had never known before, Thali knelt before his wife and took her hand. What are you? Let me explain myself. I have not been entirely honest with you, my lady. It is high time I restore the truth. The queen fell silent, too stunned to protest, as her husband was taking a deep breath. Ever since the physicians have been suspecting your infertility, I do not know how to behave around you anymore. I am torn between my desire to obtain heirs and carry on my lineage, as my ancestors did before me, and my affection toward you, which is why I cannot resolve to repudiate you. Valley lowered his eyes. And that is why I had convinced myself to have a mistress, and keeping you away from my life as much as possible. My business trips were merely an excuse to avoid you. Trembling, Seraphine clasped his hand a little tighter. Her eyes became clouded. I knew it. I have always known it. Nothing would give me greater joy than giving you a child, but I cannot. All the treatments and prayers proved to be ineffective, and I loathe myself for that. I did not know you were feeling that way. You never pay attention to her, that's why. Thalie, my dear, we have known each other all of our lives. I cannot deny that I am so terribly hurt by your silence and your absence, far more than your frivolity. Do you hate me so? Me hate you? Seraphine, I have not forgotten all those moments we have spent together since childhood. I care about you. I was simply afraid that I hurt you more. I now realize that keeping you away has only made matters worse. Really? You care about me? I do. The more I think about it, the more I feel guilty for neglecting you when there is nothing you can do about our misfortune. From now on, we will spend more time together. Seraphine broke down in tears. Oh, my lord, I am so happy. Would you promise me? And for the first time in years, the prince took her in his arms and hugged her tightly. I do swear. Well, I'm happy for them, I guess. But that means things are not gonna go well for Kiona. From that night on, Thalie stuck to his word and dedicated part of his life to renew the slackened ties of his marriage. He consequently visited Claremont much less frequently and did not indulge in Kiona's whims anymore. The young Mora thus found herself left to her own devices even more often than usual. She was not pleased with that at all. I do not understand. He should have gradually dropped his guard and become closer to me. I have done everything to this effect. We're literally turning into Seraphine from the other timeline. Instead of strengthening our relationship, I've weakened it. Many times over, she paced her room up and down, obsessed with finding a solution to her problems. I must find a way to encourage him to trust me. If he is hesitating, then I must conform more closely to his feminine ideal. The closer I will be, the less reasons he will have to return to his wife. But how should I find out what he likes or dislikes in a potential partner? Convinced that she had found the crux of the problem, the princess began observing the retainers whenever she could to obtain useful information. Naturally, none of them would allude to the Lord's preference during a conversation. No doubt they were ignorant of them. Nonetheless, Kiona persisted, and a much more guileful idea came to her while she was spying on a scene that was on the whole rather mundane. Can I count on you for our weekly dice game? You bet. Are you sure it's a good idea, Romaine? If you keep up like this, you're gonna spend your pay within a week. Come on, of course not. Oh no, he's got a name. What does that mean? I might not look like a Gemma, but I know how to control myself. As if. Speaking of controlling oneself, I'm not sure I'll be able to participate this time. Why then, Gregoire? Well, we tend to have a round of drinks between each game, and you know how much I like that little drink. You like them all. Precisely. My wife thinks that I have a culpable penchant for drinking. Until now, I thought she was exaggerating, but given what happened the other night... You mean the time you started dancing on a table naked? No. No, that was me. I had bet my clothes. I think he's talking about the time he vomited in the... Wait, who's talking right now? Romaine? Oh, that's him. He's talking about the time he vomited in the Lord's soup, and we had to throw it in a hurry. The garden's flowers still remember that. We scalded several of them in the operation. Thank you for your subtlety, Romaine. The fact remains that I realized she had a point. I do not want to end up in a pitiable state, so I promised her I would learn to control myself and reduce my alcohol consumption. I am therefore a bit scared of what could happen during a dice game. That's rather brave of you. Absolutely. Let that be a lesson to you, Romaine. Hey, I told you I could quit playing for money anytime I want. I'd like to see that. Rather than leaving you behind, we'll try to adapt. We'll keep playing, but with less alcohol. What do you think? Uh-oh. I think last time we stumbled on this, we wanted to play dice with them, but I don't think it's gonna go that way this time. Thank you, Gemma. You're both true friends. True friends. I wish we had a true friend. Fiona discreetly walked away from the main room while mulling over this information. Once she had reached her room, she locked the door, as usual, and sat on bed. As I thought, some retainers have weaknesses I could exploit. Kiona! That Romaine fellow seems quite passionate about gambling, and potentially debt-ridden as well. It would be very easy to bribe him with a few coins. Unfortunately, there is nothing I truly own here except my adornments. I will certainly have to steal from the coffers. But if I pay Romaine, he is bound to get accused of dipping into them himself, and he will understand the deception. He lay down, contemplative. The first stars were starting to show up on the heavenly vault. Upon gazing at them, she speculated even more. However, that other man, Gregoire, seems to be fighting against certain alcohol addiction. I could try to tempt him by offering some of the bottles of wine that I usually reserve for my own use. They are of much better quality than what the servants get for themselves. He will have trouble stopping after just one taste. Besides, there is nothing wrong with me sharing my stock. One drink in exchange for information. It sounds befitting. Increasingly restless, she carried out her plan the very next day. As she was around the table for lunch, she noticed that her prey was one of the valets who were bringing the dishes. She called out to him just as he was bringing the last sequence of the meal. Gregoire, my good man. Yes, madam. Is there anything I can do for you? I feel quite lonely. Would you stay with me while I drink with my sweet spice wine? If that's what you wish, I will comply. He obediently sat next to her and waited for her to finish. It is such a shame that only I get to enjoy this. Why would you not have a drink too? Me, madam? It's very kind of you to worry about my health, but I have eaten before starting my service. Besides, this is Lord Thali's private reserve. This honor belongs to you. That is quite true, but do they not say that it is much more pleasant to drink in good company? I am so bored here. The meal would only be happier. Really, it would move me if you could accept. The retainer wavered. It was his duty to obey his masters and please them as best he could. The offer sounded harmless enough. Kiona indeed seemed to be wandering around like a lost soul. If he could grant her wishes, while improving the deplorable atmosphere that was prevailing since her arrival at Claremont, his comrades would no doubt be grateful. Besides, the idea of tasting wine of such good quality was making his mouth water. But he had promised his wife and children not to indulge too much, and he cared a lot about them, so he leaned on his last offense in the hope that she would not persist. I thank you very much, but I'm not worthy of your kindness. Come now, nobody will know. You have the right to relax once in a while too, do you not? This will stay between us. Unable to resist any longer, Gregoire yielded. Very well, I'll agree to drink in your company, Lady Kiona, but I'm counting on you to keep it light. Naturally. With a predatory smile, she poured her interlocutor a glass. From the first sip, she heard him melt with pleasure. Ah, such flavors! The sweetness is divine. I don't think I've ever drank wine that I liked so much that I was like this. I will never understand the hype for wine. I really won't. Are you perhaps a wine connoisseur? Oh, I have a basic knowledge, but that is all. Do not be so modest. I can see that you have much more than a basic knowledge, and I am delighted to talk with another connoisseur. If you enjoy robust beverages, you should absolutely try one from Haute Grelotte or Saint Emilion. He immediately seized one of the bottles which had remained on the table after it had been cleared. You are being too generous. What do you like most, red or white wine? I have a soft spot for red wine. In that case, you are going to love this one. She did so well that the servants let himself be persuaded to taste all the wines, then have another glass of some under the pretext of comparing them. After a few minutes, he was incredibly fuddled and no longer able to properly stand or talk. What do you think, dear Gregoire? Oh, they're so good. I could sell my soul for more. That shouldn't be allowed, good lord. Tell me, would you happen to know if Lord Thali is keeping a diary or any form of correspondence by chance? Diary he doesn't keep, that's for sure. But letters he receives frequently, very frequently. Most I've had for wine is like, I don't hate this one actually, and maybe recognizing that one might be better for cooking. I don't personally enjoy wine, but apparently some French people do. Wait, yeah. I know that over here white wine is definitely very common. My friends love Prosecco. I hate Prosecco. So it's always a battle of, god damn it, it's Prosecco night, isn't it? No. I've heard red wine tends to be like easier to palate for the most part and goes quite well with cheese, but I personally would rather have grapes with cheese than fermented grape juice. Oh, show. He's very drunk. Listen, he's very drunk. Don't mind him. From whom do they come from? He never talks about it, but I'm sure of it. They're like from his mistresses. Interesting. Do you know where he put them away in that case? I haven't got a clue. All I know is they're somewhere in his room in a box. Perfect, perfect. Is there something he is hiding from me? Some secret? Not that I know. There's his wife and other mistresses. You're in the know, apparently. As it happens, does his wife have a weak point I could exploit? We're not even pretending to be subtle. Her love for the Lord, that's all. That's what'll be the end of her. I could not care less about her love, drunkard. Don't shout so loudly, ma'am. Besides, the Lord's love will be the end of him too. How so? Oh, he pushes his wife away, but that's cowardice. We all know he's crazy about her. More than he's ever been about any of his mistresses. Oh no, I just got deja vu. What? I find red wine to be worse since it's not even sweet like white wine. Interesting. I've always heard that red wine tends to have like a deeper flavor though. White wine doesn't taste sweet to me. White wine is gross. It's like sharp. The tannins for red can be pretty intense. There's some brands where it's really mild, and I think that's the most I could palate. I have wine growers in the family, so not liking red wine is considered a crime. Oh no. Yeah, no, I think my family has never been big on wine in general, so maybe that's why I never got into it. Because it's never been like a thing, you know? But I don't know. I'd want to go to a wine tasting day to see like what the best wines are and have that with cheese and snacks and things. But aside from that, I don't think I could ever buy a bottle of wine and just drink it. Blech. That's why he's never gonna repudiate her. He can't do that to his childhood friend. Soon as you'll give him a child, he'll take it away from you. Yona got up from the table so brusquely she knocked him over.
Filthy liar! I am the one he truly loves. I and I alone.
Oh, my head, my head. In a fury, she banged her fist on the table, and ignoring the poor stick of a fellow who was gesticulating on the ground, she left the common room. Oh my god. You're burning bridges left and right. After fiercely slamming the door, she stormed into the bedroom that was dedicated to the monarch, and in which she had never entered before. Grinding her teeth so much that they might explode, she stood up. Girl, that's gonna give you jaw problems. She stood up straight with blazing eyes and prominent neck muscles, and methodically began rummaging through its belongings. No, 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 no. Search the room! I don't want to search the room! Purse, wine bottle. Oh, I haven't done an adventure game in so long. Wax seal. Coat. Painting. Why are we finding all of these stuff? Oh, there's a wax seal. Letter. Oh, scroll box. Biscuit tin. Diary. Oh, we found it. Horn? Why is there a hose up there? And a comb up there? Dagger. Where's the dagger? Oh. Where's this horn? Good thing this isn't timed, because my goodness, where is this horn? I feel blind. I'm clicking everywhere. Oh, it's giant. In a violent state, she was knocking everything down. Books, ornaments, pillows, candles. Fortunately, they were all extinguished. Oh, that's all the things I found, but I was actually knocking them over. After a long minute spent exploring every nook and cranny of the room, opening and emptying every drawer, she finally noticed a small black box hidden under a pile of clothes. That was pretty quick. I see you're an expert. Man, I haven't done one of these since I was a kid. Like those find the object, hidden object games. There was one in particular that was I can't remember the name of it, but it was, okay, did y'all ever have Windows Vista? Windows Vista had this specific game app on it where you had a bunch of different games that you could play, but you had a coin system and you could only use 3 coins for each game. There was one particular magic game that I played. It was a point and click with the googly eyes. Yeah, there was this particular magic find hidden object game that I played. I was obsessed with it because it didn't have a time limit on it. You just had to keep playing it and you couldn't close it, but it would close automatically after a certain amount of time if you weren't clicking on it. Anyway, I was obsessed because it had this story about the main character's sister was missing, and you had to go through the story, interact with these characters, and eventually I got all the way to the end of the game using all 3 coins. And then I ran out of coins because I accidentally closed the game or something. And we got to this big hidden tower in the school. And it was a big moment. We found our sister. And then I didn't know what else happened. And I don't know what that game is. And I'm really upset. But anyway, I played that game so well. I had no choice because if I failed, I would have lost a coin. So that's why. That's the lore behind my hidden object. This is before the internet, by the way, because I didn't have any of that to help me. I wish I knew what that game was, because I want to know what happened at the end of it. Anyway, I have you. Extracting it from the wardrobe, she opened the box in all haste. Letters had been carefully preserved and folded. She eagerly seized them and returned to her own room to read them at ease. On her way, she came across her lady-in-waiting and hailed her. Gemma, would you be so kind as to clean up Lord Thali's quarters? The place is in shambles. But I was so sure I cleaned them yesterday, madam. Well, go back and check for yourself. Oh my god. This is devolving. Let's go read an extra story for a sec. What did we find? 3 different stories. The Sun, Moon, and Talia. What the prince fails to mention to poor Talia is that he is already married to a rather jealous woman, and as discretion is not his strong suit, he spends his time pronouncing the name of his mistress and his children, who he has nicknamed Sun and Moon. Because he suddenly goes hunting a lot, the wife realizes he is hiding something from her and blackmails his secretary to make him confess what is going on in exchange for money. Once she knows, the queen orders that Talia's children be sent to her, claiming the prince wishes to see them, and tasks a cook with serving them to her husband as revenge! Because he is kind-hearted, the cook prefers to hide the children. Yeah, and prepares goats instead. But since the queen's hatred is still not quenched, she asks Talia herself to come and blames her for all of her miseries. The princess tries to defend herself in vain. She is sentenced to be thrown in a great fire. Fortunately, the prince rushes over at the last minute and upon learning the truth, burns his wife at the stake to punish the murder of his children. He intends to do the same with the cook, but it is revealed that they are alive and the family is finally reunited. As the former queen is dead, Talia takes her place and all ends well. Jesus Christ. These fairy tales are getting more and more ludicrous. But that definitely is what happened. Philomena. Oh! That's like the queen in Infinity Nikki, Queen Philomena, except it's Philomena. Philomena is a tale that Chrétien de Troyes borrowed from The Metamorphosis by Ovid to translate and rewrite it in his style. The king of Athens, Pandion, has 2 daughters, Phrygne and Philomena. The eldest is given in marriage to Tereus, and they go beyond the sea to the kingdom of Thrace. As Tereus is its sovereign, together they conceive a child and seem to live peaceful days. After 5 years, Phrygne starts to feel lonely and she asks to see her sister again. Tereus accepts and offers to go to Athens in person so we can negotiate with Pandion. But he is difficult to convince as he is quite old and would rather Philomena keep taking care of him. Yet Tereus does not give up and redoubles in tears and arguments until the king gracefully concedes. Unfortunately, the moment he sets his eyes on the young girl, Tereus falls madly in love with her and has one obsession, possessing her. What is with these Greek mythology stories? The ship has barely reached Thrace that he leads her to an isolated house and rapes her. Then he grabs a knife and cuts her tongue so that she would never tell anyone what has happened to her. After his wrongdoing, he leaves her under the surveillance of a farmer and claims to Phrygne that her sister is dead, which makes her sink into deep depression. In the meantime, Philomena tries to contact her family by any means, but the farmer keeps her weather eye open. She thus thinks of subterfuge, embroidering an immense tapestry that would narrate her misfortunes and sending it to the queen. When Phrygne receives it, she immediately understands the situation, manages to find her sister and hides her in the palace. Consumed by hatred, she resolves to sacrifice her son to her vengeance, cuts off his head, and serves his flesh to her husband as a meal. Upon discovering the truth, Tereus throws himself onto the 2 sisters to kill them, but the 3 of them turn into birds and fly away through the window. Well, so much for a break. Oh my god. I swear to God. So many Greek mythology stories are like this. It just like goes from 0 to 100 and it's always the most seediest, despicable man doing some crazy shit.
Okay. What about this one? Joliet is one of the tales presented in Le Magazine des Enfants, 1756, by Jean-Marie Le Prince de Beaumont. That's a big name. It has a rather classic setting. A lord and lady eager to have a child are given a little girl named Joliet. She's showered with gifts from the fairies. Is this Thumbelina? From the fairies of the country, and it's promising to become both beautiful and witty. Oh. They're not, wait, maybe they're not given a little girl, but they're born with, okay, never mind. However, the Queen of the Fairies quite rightly notices that none of her colleagues thought of making Joliet good-hearted. Consequently, she imposes on her an obligation to remain mute until her 20th birthday in the hope of setting things right. How is that going to help? The little girl grows up and learns to use her disability against others because people do not pay attention to her. She reports everything she sees and hears to her mother through gestures. She's a tattletale who sows discord everywhere she goes, so much so that on her 20th anniversary, the Queen of the Fairies decides to teach her a lesson. She uses a magical mirror that shows all the harm she has done, retainers on the street, disinherited children, separated couples, only because of her pieces of gossip. The Mirror of Truth, Mirror de Vérité in French, is a formidable tool as it reflects all of their flaws into the person gazing into it. Well, maybe you shouldn't have made her mute. Just to make her good-natured? That's wild. Sometimes I just don't understand the lessons of these stories, so because a lot of these were meant to be to teach people to be good. All those names, not only am I bad at remembering names, but I have also missed the very beginning of the game. This text sound like blubberish to me. So these texts are all supposed to be like, they're all fairy tales from different places in the world, different time periods, and they're all like, you know, stories that kind of devolve and evolve and turn into different other stories. So that's why the names are like similar, because the game kind of takes the donkey skin story, but is using a lot of other different stories to kind of progress the different timelines. So like Talia was a princess in a story, but the way that her story went is kind of like how Prince Tali is going. The lesson is that gossiping is bad, and the girl stops being mute after that and swears she learns her lesson before screwing up her own life. Like, I guess so. But it's also kind of like, what was your point there? Making her mute to teach her how to be good? And then unmuting her, I guess, when she learns her lesson. That's wild. Some of these were definitely, like, I don't know. Some of these, like, fairy tales are definitely written by, like, very screwed up people, which does make sense, I guess. Especially with some of the directions that they go. It's like, oh, who is this for? Like, what lessons were you teaching children about, like... I think the girls reading the tale are supposed to learn to behave. That particular author is very much about morals. I see. Okay. Interesting. Well, that's not the worst one, I guess. It's like the ones where, like, the ones that are about, like Sleeping Beauty, for instance, are always just so strange. Like, you know, what was the lesson there to, you know, if you breach consent and, you know, impregnate a lady while she's asleep, then everyone's happy. She doesn't even wake up, does she? Because she births the children and then he just takes them and he leaves. Some of them are very strange. The time morals likely had a lot to keep to your own business, probably, yeah. You need to read the good old German or Russian fairy tales. Those were good. Russian fairy tales I have not tried. I haven't heard too many of those. I wonder what they're like, because I have heard a lot of like Russian stories, and they tend to be very depressing, very like miserable. I know my first foray into that was Anna Karenina, and that one, I feel like the moral of that story is live in the countryside, grow potatoes, don't get involved in aristocracy because that shit is messy. That's the moral of that story. Not all of them have morals. Some of them was society was very misogynistic. Oh, absolutely, for sure. It's very much so that, yeah. Like some of the stories could have a very clear moral, but then it goes into like very misogynistic territory, like, oh, if you do this, you're gonna get raped, and it's like, why is that the repercussion? You know, why do they have to do something to not, like Red Riding Hood? Like, girl, that one was crazy. There's one Russian tale in one of the endings. Oh, really? Interesting. That's worrying. That's not concerning at all. Most of the morals amount to you need to be a good girl. It's true. It's true. I think a lot of them are definitely catered towards like young girls as opposed to like, you know, young boys to be good. Which is very telling in its own right. The misogyny is so hardcore, it's difficult to swallow in some cases, like all the Griselda-inspired ones. I know some of them are just despicably bad. Like for me, it's any of the Sleeping Beauty ones. It's just like, this is just like, I don't see any point to the story. Like, it just feels miserable. And the Griselda ones, I don't remember like how those ones went actually compared to like the one in this game. Oh yeah, that she's such a good princess and he's like, she can't be genuine, and then he like tortures her and torments her, and then he finds out, oh no, she actually was good. But it's fine, and then they live happily ever after. Fucking hell, like that one was terrible. Like, what was the point of that one? He just distrusts her because she's too good, and then they're like, oh yeah, but it's fine because she endured everything that he put her through. And so they lived happily ever after. Terrible. Terrible. All right, back to this. Without any consideration, Kiona locked herself in a room with a scornful look. All the people here have become my enemies. I'm sure of it. I can see it in their unmoved faces. But this matters little. I have what I need. Reveal all your secrets to me. Uh-oh. With a dry mouth and an avid soul, the young Moor browsed the missives up and down, in the hopes of discovering how to conquer her lover once and for all. She was sorely disappointed to only discover prattle. Most of the letters indeed came from Thali's mistresses, who were renewing their desire to see him, imploring him to visit them more often. The similarity with her own situation hit a nerve, and she grumbled. I am different. He will not abandon me. He will stay. He will... A new epistle caught her attention. My lord, I have received a reply, but I cannot believe it. Why would you deny us a favor to join you at the castle? I am very well aware that you do not want to bother your spouse, but I would like to meet her. I believe it is important for us to talk if we are to share your life. Should we not announce the birth of your son? The kingdom has a right to know. I have resigned myself to the fact that you will never legitimate me, but this child deserves better. As a child? It was certainly the woman the servants had alluded to in a previous timeline, the one who had managed to give birth, but whose child had passed away after a few weeks. She could not convince him either. Oh, okay. Yet I felt that he was ready to give in for me. I was so close to my goal. I can do it this time again. Upon scattering the letters on the bed, Kiona noticed one at the bottom of the box. It was torn, which piqued her interest. She immediately began putting the pieces back together so she could decipher the contents. Oh. So many games going on. Making me want to finally play Professor Layton. Oh, oops. Can I turn these around? Are these all like crossed out? I can't think of what we could discover now that would change the situation, to be honest. Surely there can't be anything that significant going on in his life. Once put together, the fragments revealed numerous crossed out words. Upon examining the signature, the princess immediately understood its singularity. It was not a missive addressed to Thali, but a draft written by Thali himself. Heart pounding, Kiona thought she had the remedy to her misery in her hand. Could it be intended for me? Could he be confessing his feelings? Girl. In reality, the letter was her poison. Seraphine, my love, we have not talked for a long time. As soon as I see you, my heart sinks and I do not know what to say. I've tried numerous times to confess my sins to you, but nothing escapes from my prison, the prison of my lips. So I've decided to take my courage in my hands and write. Although I have not always been very present, I am very fond of you. My feelings towards you remain unaltered. Do you remember the frog pond from our childhood? And that first kiss we shared in secret in the shade of the bocages? Power might have entrusted me with responsibilities, but I have nonetheless never stopped cursing them and sighing, thinking about the ancient times, those times where everything was easier. What would I give to go back? This lost carefreeness weighs on me. Not a night goes by without me holding you in my arms, caressing that smile I have not seen for so long, and that hair blonder than the purest gold. Would you not forgive my folly? Would you comfort me one more time? My God. He procrastinated with the letter so much he drew ornate decorative S at the start. I assumed it was like a stamp, but what a funny thing for him to have done, to be like, I can't write this letter, so I'm gonna spend 5 hours writing out the S for Seraphine instead. That sounds like him, TBH. More gameplay. I think we need a distraction given all the things happening. It's true. Eyes transfixed, her face wearing a macabre expression, or grimace. Macabre grimace. The princess let herself fall onto the bed, covered in letters. Her fingers clung to the sheets and rolled them onto her eyes. She remained that way, motionless and unable to speak, for hours and hours. The message of love that the king intended for Seraphine had robbed her of her hopes. The retainer had been truthful. Although they had drifted away, the bond between them was much stronger than anything she could ever develop with Thali. Even in turmoil, he was thinking about her. Kiona was only a fling, entertainment, the potential mother of his children. She could never become the love of his life. The shock was so big that she was no longer able to cry. Indifferent, mechanical, she did not move either when she heard someone knock on her door. Madam, it's time for supper. I am not hungry. Would you like us to leave some gruel in front of your door as a snack? No. Her commanding tone eventually fed the lady-in-waiting's exasperation, and she was quick to join the other retainers in the main room. Oh, the bore! Why does she have to treat me that way? What happened? Would you believe it? She refuses to eat. Wouldn't you know it? This happens mere hours after finding Lord Thali's bedroom in a horrendous state. I don't know why she'd want to rummage through his personal belongings, but she did just that. She had the nerve to order me to clear up her mess right after.
I don't know what her intentions are, but I'm now convinced that she's an absolutely detestable human being. Oh, she's bad. Bad.
My god, what happened, Gregoire? He looks sick.
I found him under the table. The impious woman made him drink. The bottles of wine were empty.
Are you sure it's her?
Why would Gregoire help himself for the sovereign's reserve? She must have offered him. I see no other explanation.
But that's vile. He precisely wanted to gradually stop drinking. Do you think she knew?
Of course, it's too big a coincidence. She knew perfectly well what she was doing.
Let's keep an eye on her so she doesn't commit another perfidy.
Bad. Bad. We are really digging this hole.
That night, as Kiona was discreetly going to Thali's bedroom to put the letters she had stolen back in their place, she was overcome with uncontrollable nausea. She then realized that she was once again pregnant. She decided not to talk about it to the monarch yet, partly because she was scared that it would only be a false alert, and partly because she did not want to see him for some time. Her only solace lay in the fact that she was expecting a child much sooner than previously. She was thus utterly convinced that her end was near. A little while later, as Kiona was getting fresh air on the patio, she heard a familiar voice.
It's him! It's our best friend, George's. Well, hello! Would you happen to need anything? I have on me what is needed to sew, all the tools you would need in your everyday life, handkerchiefs, and a number of remedies.
You're coming along at just the right time, Mr. Merchant. We're all suffering from insomnia, therefore some herbal tea would indisputably soothe us. I also have a friend who's recently been wrecked by alcohol, thus if you were to have at your disposal something to treat him, it would be wonderful.
I cannot promise it will make his sickness disappear, but I do have some medicinal herbs that should do the trick and do him a world of good.
Fabulous! Please come in.
The young Moor caught sight of Gemma, escorting the silhouette that was recognizable from miles away. She clearly distinguished her friend George's, laden with bags and trinkets of all kinds. She had been waiting for him so much during her previous pregnancy. She was so terribly lonely that she felt elated to see him.
Finally, a friendly face. Oh, Georges, how I have missed you.
Oh no, how is this gonna go bad?
She was prepared to run towards him when she was struck by doubt. Does he only remember me? I do not know if I'm supposed to have met him or not. Oh, it does not make much difference anyway. I will be careful and make a decision based on his reactions. Brushing aside any restraint, Fiona ventured into the living room, a big smile on her face.
Why does anyone have multiple relationships?
Here you go. Here is everything you need. Thank you again for coming.
Do not mention it. As a peddler, it's my duty to move about from house to house to ensure nobody is in need of anything, and I shall not ignore the cry for help of a pretty girl. The lady in waiting rolled her eyes and was about to see the guest to the gate when she detected her presence. She grudgingly bowed down.
Lady Kiona.
I suppose that this is the lady of the house.
Absolutely.
Georges bowed gallantly. My respects, madam.
Given his behavior, it seemed obvious he did not know her yet. The princess decided to improvise in order to convince him to keep her company. Are you leaving already?
I must. It appears that your retainer has already bought all the products that could be of use in your house, and the road ahead is quite long.
Are you not a peddler? It would please me very much to hear some news from surrounding villages.
Well, seeing as I am already here, how could I deny a customer this pleasure?
Please sit back. It is so hot. Would you not fancy a lemonade?
Madam is too generous.
Gemma, go fetch him his fresh drink.
Right away, madam.
Fiona was overjoyed to be able to spend time alone with her friend. She could not tell him everything, but the sound of his voice was already soothing. This good mood, which was usually reserved for Lord Thali, aroused the servant's suspicion. She was set on staying nearby to make sure she would not do any harm to the merchant. Therefore, once the lemonade was brought, she started to wipe the furniture and tidy the dishes. Gemma, what are you doing here? I'm working, madam. The princess felt unmatched animosity towards her. I knew it. They are watching me. They do not want me to enjoy myself. The rascals. Moments after, exceptionally angry, she came closer to a lady-in-waiting and prompted her in a low voice. Away with you and your floor cloths. When there are guests at home, servants do not start cleaning the room they are in. Unimpressed by her threats, the involved party retorted out loud with a little smirk. This is a good opportunity, as the weather is so nice. It does not bother you, Mr. Merchant, does it? By no means. You belong here, and I am merely a passing visitor. I have no objection to that. Irate, Kiona used an imperious tone. Well, you are bothering me. Uh-oh. I am quite sorry to hear that, madam. The retainer continued her work with feigned diligence, which finished trying the lady of the house's patience. While Georges was looking away, probably out of courtesy, she grabbed the floor cloth and angrily pinched her arm. Ouch! It hurts so much! You have no right to pinch me, if Lord Thali were to know. Her ears reddened by wrath, fingers still quivering. Kiona could no longer contain the rage that was setting her whole... what was that? I didn't see that bit. Whoops. The whole being alight. I did not touch you, liar. Standing up for herself, Gemma fought back by sporting the red mark clearly visible on her arm. What is this mark if you did not touch me? Oh no! The princess's expression turned into one of a demon and she gave her a stinging slap in the face. Georgia stood up, taken aback by such sudden violence, while tears were forming in the corner of the servant's eyes. Astounded, she remained motionless, her arms dangling, while the young Moor was tapping her foot impatiently. Leave this room at once! Taking advantage of the retainer's sudden apathy, Kiona raised her hand once more to hit her. As he could not bear such a sight, the merchant instinctively got between them and tried to reason with her. Madam, I beg you, please calm down. She is getting what she deserves. Negotiations went sour. In the blink of an eye, Georges received a slap on the same scale. No! This is the worst. I hate this. I hate all of this so much. Why is this happening? He then stepped back, terrified. Pale and with trembling lips, he went toward the table on which he had left all his merchandise and loaded them on his back. Kiona promptly understood that she had gone too far and rushed toward the door. Where are you going? There is no way I'm staying in this madhouse another minute. Panicked, she tried to block his way. No, do not leave. Not already. Georges, you cannot leave me in such a state. Your departure will make me so unhappy. His only response was to glare daggers at her. How can you believe, madam, that I am going to stay when you have just hit me? How do you even know my name? I do not remember mentioning it. The princess did not know how to justify herself. The peddler's accusing glare went straight to her heart, and thus she let herself be gently pushed aside. You scared me and shamed me, madam. Your behavior is deeply unhealthy. I will never set foot here again. Farewell. Without delay, he left the house and headed for the gate at a distraught pace. Suddenly coming back to part of his senses, Kiona chased after him for a while, shouting, Very well, go away if that is what you wish. And now I'm going to cry until it makes me sick. Despite the last provocation, Georges did not look back, and soon he was on the road, out of sight. Devastated, the young woman fell on her knees in front of the property's entrance and burst into tears so loudly that they echoed throughout Claremont for hours. What should have been a joyful reunion had deeply degenerated, and there was no turning back. That day, Kiona lost her only potential friend. I want to leave. Left to her own devices once again, the princess vainly tried to convince herself that her plan was unfolding as planned, even though everything had become insufferable. Unhappiness and loneliness,
were making her so aggressive and bad-tempered that no one had dared speak to her since Gemma's incident. Worse still, Thali was playing hard to get. I think he's just not coming back. Claiming he was busy, she was still unable to announce her pregnancy. Through spite, she resolved to turn to her lost ally. Fairy godmother? One afternoon, as she was moping on the patio, it occurred to her she could summon the fairy to force her to keep her company. You can't do that, remember? A whirlwind of dead leaves materialized in front of her. The creature came out of it with a more sullen look than usual. Yes, my child. I am dying of boredom, godmother. All the people who live here are against me. I need to talk to someone I can rely on. Oh, really? I didn't know I was so trustworthy. At least you have not tried to stab me in the back like the others yet. That is indeed not my style. I never strike without warning. There was something sinister about the chuckle escaping from her lips. Kiona could not help shivering for an instant. Enough joking. Why did you call me here? I have already told you. I am longing for a confidant. All those who are surrounding me are miscreants who are only seeking to harm me. Being so kind, would you not converse with me a little? Have you considered your isolation could be the fruits of your own actions? What are you implying here, godmother? I have observed your stay since the beginning. It is rather clear that you did wonder to cut yourself off from everyone. I have done nothing wrong. I make an effort to be polite with retainers. I talk to them from time to time, and Thali regularly comes to court me. Are you not confusing with your previous life? The events are so similar you are mixing them up. Absolutely not. I am quite capable of distinguishing the difference. I can tell by the fact that Georges did not stay with me this time, because of that witch Gemma. That devil did everything she could to stop him. See, I am not hallucinating. She's gone crazy. I returned from chicken parmesan. You should probably stay with chicken parmesan. Things are not happy over here. The parmesan is probably happier. Not yet. Princess, you must stop imagining the whole world wants you dead. It is only making your temper worse and worse. But that is the truth. All the retainers here are Lady Seraphine's accomplices. Lord Thali is under her influence. She is scheming to kill me again, I know it. Medea's only reply was to raise her eyes heavensward, which increased her protégé's fury. How can you be so calm when my life is at stake? Are you not the one who said I should bring an end to my time travels as soon as possible? If I die, I will have to begin again, and you will remain trapped with me. I know this all too well. You forget I am also the one who advised you not to act precipitously, which you immediately did. I was even against your idea. I did not want to see you come back to Claremont, discerning all too well what would happen. You are proving me right today. Annoyed, Kiona clicked her tongue. Are your veins full of ice water to remain so stoic? Mine are boiling. Princess, come now. Do you believe to be the only human being I have come across in all my existence? I have seen many others make desperate attempts before you. I am accustomed to death. I do not fear it. You could at least pretend to feel sorry for me. Nonsense. I may be your godmother, but I am not your nanny. Besides, you had been warned. Did I not tell you to be careful? Because you were already losing sight of what was truly important. Would you stop being so nebulous with your riddles? The fairy sighed loudly, visibly at her wit's end. You humans are all the same. When you do not want to look the truth in the face, one could break your nose with it and you would still deny seeing anything. Think for yourself. You will reflect on your denatured wish when you will be alone again. Now, if you'll excuse me, I would rather take my leave. Even a flower pot is friendlier. Damn. Without giving her interlocutor a chance to protest, she disintegrated into the wind. The princess became exasperated. Medea, come back! I urge you appear before me! The creature turned a deaf ear, which forced her to calm down a bit. Understanding her shrieks would not bring her back, Kiona lost herself to contemplation of the autumnal garden.
The short meeting had at least the merit of giving her food for thought. What is she trying to say? What could I have lost sight of? As her godmother had advised her, she started thinking about the nature of her wish. I asked to go back in time to undo my mistakes, but I do not quite remember why. I believe that I had some reservations about paying the fairies tribute. What was it again? Her memory seemed befogged by those long months of learning. She had lived through so many things that the time when she was a naive girl now seemed distant, nebulous. Yet to solve the fairy's riddle, she had to remember her first reluctance. Fiona meditated at length until the breeze finally whispered the answer to her, resurrecting old and less varied memories.
Remember your friend?
Princess, princess, over here! Fall has come and trees are full of colors. As it does every year, Nahima, there is nothing remarkable about it. I believe that you are wrong. Each season is another opportunity to admire nature. If God made it so beautiful, it would be a shame not to enjoy it. You have something in the back of your mind. Do you want to dance in the wind again? The weather is unfortunately too calm for that. What if we go pick chestnuts instead? Today? Pretty please, princess. I want to pick chestnuts so much. Understood, understood. Do not sulk. Here, look. I am following you. Magic comes at a price. In exchange for having your greatest wish fulfilled, you must vanish from the memory of the person you love the most. The epiphany ejected her from her reveries like a thunderclap. Nahima!
You might as well extinguish yourself from her memories. Like, she doesn't even know you, you don't even remember her right now. She'd been so preoccupied by her own personal problems, her adventures, her repeated deaths, she had forgotten what was most important, her childhood friend. So that was the warning her godmother had tried to give her, not to forget what she was fighting for. If Kiona had refused to pay the fairies tribute, it was because she did not want to sacrifice her relationship with Nahima, and yet, quite ironically, she had still expunged her from her life. She had abandoned her. That was why her wish had become denatured. It had been rendered completely meaningless. She could have destroyed her rival and saved her son during her previous life, since she was not fighting for Nahima anymore. If she had issued the exact same request, it must have been because fragments of fondness were still lingering in her mind, only begging to resurface. All that needed to be done was to warm her heart frozen by hostility. By misfortune, she was not able to question her actions or come back on her mistakes. Instead, too deeply drowned in her delirium, she completely embraced them. Thus, when the fairy paid her a visit the following day, she found that she had hardly changed. Have you calmed down since yesterday, princess? I have never lost my temper. Really? I dare not imagine what the face of your fury would be if this is your serenity. Have you given any thought to what I told you? Naturally. I even solved a little charade. You are trying to make me feel guilty because I did not bother to speak with Nahima before escaping my father's castle. Is that it? Guilty is a mighty big word, and I only sought to help you, my child. If you wish to overcome your shortcomings, you do need to acknowledge them first. I have made no mistake. Oh my god. Admittedly, I regret having been so distant towards Nahima, but I had good reasons to do so. And what are those reasons? Given my circumstance, you should understand why my flight was an emergency. I needed to save my situation at Claremont first. Your position as Prince Thali's mistress and mother of the future heir to the throne was more important than your friendship. Do not twist my words. I intend to summon her once all of this is resolved. Why not do so earlier? Her presence could have been a substantial asset to foil your own murder. Kiona opened her mouth so wide that she could have dislocated her jaw. She thought she had an answer for everything. However, she had to admit the fairy had destabilized her.
How did she not think of this before? Her argument sounded extraordinarily simple, and yet so evident. Why did she not think of contacting Nahima? She would have been safe at Claremont, and life would have only become more pleasant. Vigorously shaking her head, she tried to make those atrocious thoughts disappear. Thoughts of failure. She could not come to terms with the fact that she had wasted full months waiting in this prison for nothing. All the more so now that she had come back. All certainties tumbled down like sandcastles. She had desperately attempted to grab onto something. It is too late now. Sensing her protégé was staggering under the weight of unavowed remorses, Medea came closer and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. It is never too late, child. Fiona violently pushed her away. Of course it is too late. After all the horrors I committed, I cannot go back. Not this time. I need to succeed, you hear? Affliction clouded the fairy's face. I see, it is pointless to insist. If you are going to be this way, I will leave you to your own spitefulness. You have no right to run away. We are bound by a magical pact. You must obey me. Oh, but I do not owe you anything, princess. The pact only compels me to fulfill your wish. Nothing more, nothing less. All the small favors I do are purely voluntary, and I am free to put an end to it immediately if I see fit. That is not what you told me in the previous timeline. Really? In that case, I lied. Unless I am lying right now. So you betrayed me as well. Kiona. Medea growled, yielding to anger and exasperation herself. It is decidedly impossible to have any sort of discussion with you. No, my dear. As you keep wearing a mask of malice to harden your heart, you become the mask itself. Here you are now, just as despicable as the woman you hated, if not more. Tissue of lies! I am done here. It is impossible to talk some sense into you anyway, given the state you are in. I will now only respond to your calls if you swear not to insult me again. That's called self-care. I do not wish you a good evening, madam. The creature disintegrated into the void with a dark look. Alone once again, Kiona restlessly paced the few meters of her room up and down. I am fine. Everything is fine. Everything is perfectly fine. With unmatched nervousness, she went round in circles the whole evening and fasted again, as she was now doing from time to time. As if to confirm the fairy's prediction, she went to bed early, exhausted but boiling inside. Lying down on a bed that felt so hard, she stared at the ceiling with a gaunt face. As her vision became blurry, the darkness slowly made way for a bright light that she could not ignore. Oh no, not this one. Upon half-heartedly adjusting her eyes, she caught sight of the sun, the blue sky, the light reflections of early morning. A fresh breeze was caressing her cheek, and for one moment she felt good. Suddenly, she had an uncontrollable cough attack. She wanted to bring her hands to her mouth, but she realized she was suspended in midair, unable to free herself. Blood dripped from the metal. Blood dripped from her mouth. She was suffocating. She was slipping. Everything was turning into white. And then the pain came. Her throat was on fire. Her throat was burning her terribly. Her hands unconstrained, she seized her own neck in the hope of mitigating the uninterrupted flow. But the hemoglobin was turning black. Her tongue was cut off. That was, like in the Philomena one. Black was her throat. Black was her soul. Terrified, she screamed like an animal. Once again, a few retainers gathered on her doorstep. Another night terror, just great. She locked herself again, the devil. What are we gonna do? I have a hairpin. Leave it to me. Perfect. In that case, I'll prepare the remedy the merchant sold us. Reckless idiots, what are you doing? If the Lord knew... Listen, she's been bellowing for 20 minutes straight. And we all have work tomorrow. I can't deal with the situation. Give her the damn plant so she can calm down.
Oh no. This is gonna lead to a miscarriage, isn't it?
What if we inadvertently poison her? Well, we'll make it look like an accident. We'll say that she bit her tongue in her sleep or something. I'm willing to take the risk. I can't cope with that girl anymore. Thus, they forced the door and administered a sedative to the young Moor. Fortunately for her, it did not have any undesirable effect. Servants were satisfied and went back to sleep. When she awakened, she had a bitter aftertaste in her mouth and noticed her door was not locked. And her eyes immediately narrowed. Seraphine attempted to kill me last night. I think if they were trying to kill you, they would have killed you. Fiona's obsession toward her rival resumed with greater intensity, becoming more unhealthy than ever. Convinced her invisible enemy was after her unborn child, she needed to protect herself from an imminent attack. She was now spending most of her days scheming all sorts of plans to eliminate her. And this is what happens when you don't have friends. This is what happens when you have nothing but your own paranoia to keep yourself company and no one to be like, girl, you're crazy. Girl, don't. No. Her preoccupations were so invasive that retainers could not ignore her anymore. My goodness, I've just glimpsed the mistress on the patio. She's talking to herself in a monotonous tone. It was terrifying. Did you hear what she was saying? I didn't dare come an inch closer. As soon as she noticed my presence, she shot me a dirty look before fleeing away. That woman scares the hell out of me. I never liked her that much to begin with, but we're reaching an unbearable point. I fear for my life when she's around. I understand what you mean. It's the same for me. The other day, she grabbed a servant by the hair because her tea was cold. I thought she was going to kill her. We're talking about a strange illness. I say she's just disturbed. She can only be crazy. You want to hear the best part? She started talking in her sleep, too.
Hasn't she been talking in her sleep?
How do you know this? That's right. She always locks the door with 2 turns of the key, especially since last time. Don't tell a soul, but I've made a duplicate of the key. Every time she has a new night terror, I walk into her quarters to administer the medicine. Are you crazy? What if she catches you? She's already woken up a few times, but she's not conscious of her surroundings. It's as if she's still dreaming with open eyes. That is no reason to continue. You're gonna get punished. Maybe so, but if I don't bring an end to our torment, one of us is gonna choke her to death in a rage. She's preventing us from sleeping for months. Had she been friendly, it would have been alright, but no. We've been scared of her for too long. The fact remains that I sometimes hear her speak upon coming closer. Would you believe it? She keeps repeating Lady Seraphine's name. She says she's gonna kill her, to make her pay. That makes me sick. How can she resent a woman she's never met? I told you, she's shady. She's a witch, a non-believer. The sooner the Lord gets rid of her, the better. The story scares me even more. I refuse to be left alone to face her. You won't be. We'll now find a way to always be in two in the same vicinity, so that she's not going to take advantage of the opportunity to make one of us disappear. Dolly needs to be notified. Working in such conditions is no longer possible. I agree. In the meantime, let's stay united and grit our teeth, hoping that the storm will pass.
We need to, leave. We need to get out of here. Far from passing, the situation worsened. Even more when the monarch finally deigned to pay his mistress a visit. Overjoyed, she hastened to announce her pregnancy. She'd expected expressions of love, congratulations. That was not the case. My lady, I have not been completely honest. As a matter of fact, I am already married.
I had suspected it a little, but I do not care much. You can love the both of us, can you not?
The young man shook his head with a serious look. Fiona thought that her heart was going to fail.
Looking her in the eye, he gently took her hand. I am elated to learn you are expecting a child, and I will obviously ensure you shall not lack anything, but I cannot promise to love you, nor to legitimate you. One day. Why not? If I gave birth to a healthy heir, you will take him into consideration, will you not? Lady Kiona, all my life I have been continually avoiding problems. It's the fact that he's choosing now to finally, make the right decisions. I've been continually avoiding problems. My relationship with you was only a passing fancy to escape them. Today, I've decided to face up to them and not fall back into my old ways. I know that you love me, but I cannot reciprocate your feelings, even if you give me a son. Already strained by the long months spent as a recluse, fed by paranoia and hatred, the last barrier that was protecting her heart collapsed. She fainted, and a physician was called immediately. It was declared she needed to rest a lot, and she was not allowed to leave her bed for fear her weakness putting her at risk during childbirth to come. The entire household begrudgingly took care of her, and Thali stayed at her bedside for a while before returning to the castle. In his absence, the young Moor's fever increased, as her restlessness did, and she was unable to think rationally. The Claremont domain was in the eye of the cyclone. Indeed, as winter was approaching, Kiona began to suffer from attacks that were more and more common. Everything so deeply insufferable to her that her feverish confusion was becoming madness. Even when the wind would be strong, she would open the windows and tear her pillows with her teeth. Where is it? Where is it? I know it is here. Those retainer scoundrels put it here to make me spend horrible nights. I know it is somewhere between the feathers, the pea, the nasty pea which is preventing me from shutting my eyes. Where is it? Even though 10 duvets and 10 mattresses, I could feel the little hard thing bending my back. Once the pillows were pierced and searched, she would then throw them in the air and dance under the rain of feathers. Like snowflakes, pieces of quilt would scatter across the room. Snow! Snow! The macabre ball would set ablaze a young woman's delirious eyes, burning, taken by convulsions. Go to the window and inhale big, cold blasts. Attracted by the noise, some servants would eventually rush over to stop her. Madam, what are you doing? It's not reasonable to open the window in your state. Oops. She would seldom answer, doing little more than laughing, looking out of her mind. Sometimes she would even lean, threatening to fall. The servant would invariably attempt to lure her away from the window, but the strength that delirium gave her would make that task complicated. The little show would be repeated many times, mentally exhausting the entire staff, which had a tremendously hard time holding back the lady of the house. I would quit. This would be a nightmare to deal with. It was in this harsh climate that the child of Kiona and Thali was born. The delivery unfolded in very much the same fashion as the first time, except the princess was already feverish and faint. She thus remained at the edge of consciousness throughout the whole process. These unexpected difficulties made it so her life was still in danger. Because of suffering that was devouring the mother, no one seemed to care about the baby all that much during the very first hours after their coming to the world, and they cried so much they could have destroyed their lungs. Naturally, they were entrusted to a nanny who took care of them, while the princess's fate was being decided. Yona struggled in a half-sleep for days and days, until at last she managed to overcome the disease once and for all. The miracle was abundantly commented. This woman is not only a witch, she's a lioness. In the unstable state she was in, she should never have regained consciousness and died within a few hours. I'm almost sad she survived. She would have stopped suffering at least. You think she'll really recover? A shadow still seems to be looming over her life. God will make her pay 100-fold for her crimes. You'll see. When the young Moor gained consciousness, Servants ensured she was able to take the newborn in her arms before leaving them to her. Burning up, her mind still distraught, she silently stared at the child. It is a little girl. A girl? Absolutely. Take good care of her. The retainers left in order to let her have some rest. She lay down in bed, completely exhausted. She fell asleep almost immediately. Her sleep was dark, devoid of dreams, suffocating. In the other world, Morpheus's realm, she no longer existed. She did not feel anything. The apathy brought such a relief. Nothing mattered anymore. However, that peace was brief, for the little being did not take long to whine, probably hungry. Oh no. In a gloomy mood, Kiona called her lady-in-waiting. Someone feed her. With all due respect, madam, should you not be the one to breastfeed the child? Me? Why would it be my role? Because it is your child? The princess seemed to slowly think about it. Oh yes, you are right. I am the mother. I am so wary. Please see to this baby for me. Understood. The heiress hardly bothered seeing her daughter. She would always hide behind 1,000 different excuses to avoid taking care of her, and would spend most of her time in her bedroom staring at the landscape through the window. Since she had not been given a name yet, the child was strikingly pale. She was nicknamed the Moon. Little Moon was living showered with love and attention by the retainers, who would gladly take turns to take care of her. The prince himself hastily came to see her and grew very fond of her. Oh, look at these tiny little hands. She looks like a doll. Be careful not to break her, my lord. Naturally, I would never dare hurt the flesh of my flesh. Do you think that I could bring her to the castle with me? Not yet, my lord. She is still frail. In a few weeks, maybe, if she is in good health. I'm sure that she will be healthy. Oh, little Moon, we'll need to find a name worthy of you. You could choose one now, your highness. I know, but I would have to prefer to consult with Lady Kiona. Moon is also her child, and she has a right to have a say. Incidentally, I've not seen her for far too long. What happened to her? Is she still recovering? Retainers grimaced in concert. A charitable soul came forward. We have announced your arrival to her, but she refuses to leave her room to greet you. Really? Is it out of modesty? We don't know, my lord. Take Moon. I will ask her this instant. Worried, the sovereign knocked on the bedroom door. Kiona, my love, what is wrong? Do you not want to see me? No response came. Gathering his courage, he persisted. If your current appearance is what is preventing you from opening the door, no, there is nothing to be ashamed about. Silence became stony. He tried one last time. Could it be something else? Is there anything I've said or done that was not to your liking? I don't know, maybe the whole situation? A hoarse voice suddenly startled him. Leave me alone. I do not want to see you. Could you at least explain why? I cannot stand you anymore. There, are you satisfied? Now be gone. Prince Thali was quite upset, because despite the fact that their relationship was becoming more and more strained, he did not hate her, and had secretly hoped she would accept the role of a concubine. In spite of everything, he convinced himself that it was merely a rough period, that she simply needed time, and he should also make some efforts. Faced with his lover's silence, he transferred all his affection to the child. Moon's name was on everyone's lips, and he would speak of her from morning to night. Oh! In the other timeline, I remember he called her son instead of Moon. His overflowing good mood made Kiona's resentment even worse. It was not uncommon anymore to hear her make harrowing screams in the middle of the day, which did not fail to turn the blood of Claremont's inhabitants to ice. You have to be a nasty creature to continually cry this way. I don't get that girl. If she's so sad, why does she stay cooped up in her room? Surely because of pride. I bet she can't accept to ask for help. That pride will take her to her grave. I thought the birth of the child would appease her. That's not the case at all. She still seems so fierce. It sends shivers down my spine. Still, sobbing far more than our little Moon. Anyone would think that she's a baby. The princess's uninterrupted weeping eventually reached her godmother, who deigned to appear before her one night. What is wrong, my child? Medea, save us! This is not going well! I don't know. The whole world is against me. Nothing seems to work as I had intended. Are you going to scrap your plan, then? Certainly not. I'm so close to my goal. I only need to eliminate Seraphim to get everything back. She's not taken your daughter from you just yet. Not yet, but I know that she is scheming with that in mind. That is surprising. If you care so much about her, why do you not keep her by your side? This is unnecessary. Are you chagrined because she is not the heir you wish to give to the prince? I am disappointed. I will not hide it, but it hardly matters for the time being. Why such coldness if that is not the reason? Because she can still die, of course. Have you forgotten that a sword of Damocles is permanently looming over me? I grew attached to my son, and he died. How can I be sure that Moon is not going to share the same fate? So you are motivated by love. No, it is not love yet. I am merely protecting myself. Moon will only truly become my daughter the day I am assured to save her. I just do not want to suffer once more. Is it not already too late for that? What do you know about what I am going through? No one understands me. No one is willing to understand me. It should be said you do not facilitate our task, Princess. Even so, I am trying to extend a hand and you reject it. How can I be sure that you are not going to betray me? You have ignored all of my calls. You have the nerve to appear before me looking all innocent, as if nothing had happened. You too have abandoned me. I don't like that tone, Princess. I recommend you speak to me properly. I speak as I wish, despicable being. The devil's mirror must have penetrated your heart. It is an absolute piece of ice. Never have I seen anything like that. Very well, if my presence is unwanted, I will leave. Do not expect to see me anytime soon. But know that if I hear those piercing shrieks in my head again, I will personally come to tear yours apart. Turning words into actions, the fairy came dangerously close to the young woman and brushed her chest before abruptly disappearing. Oh my god. What is happening? The character shift is crazy from only searching for a friend to literally hating everyone. I know. I can understand where she's coming from, but it is not nice to see. I get how she's gotten to this point because we've seen it, but oh my god, she's also making the worst choices, and that is also painful to watch. What's up, Jamer? That's gamers with a J. Get out of here. Get out of here. I can at least swear it's the worst timeline. Thank God. I cannot see a worse timeline. Like, if there is one, I would be like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. This is just miserable. But the fact that this is the worst one makes me feel better. Because how the fuck can you get worse from here? Oh my god. Tragic fate of a time loop protagonist, at least for one that really reflects the weight of a loop, for sure. Because I don't think any of them really reflect when a character is looping for months and years. Because she has gone through months and months and months of this. And I feel like it is very appropriately reflected in her personality change. I believe that everything that currently threatens her life could be solved with a few words. I think her mind is just gone. I think things could be resolved very easily or could have been resolved very easily. But I think unfortunately her mind is so devolved in terms of like
how much she trusts people and how much she trusts like herself, and also the constant fear that someone is going to kill her. Because let's not forget, okay, I can give a lot of leeway to the staff with a lot of like their treatment and a lot of their reasons behind it and everything, for sure. But let's not forget that even in a timeline where she did treat them well, or at least, you know, treated them decently, she never pushed them, she never like treated them badly. They still did betray her, and they did give her up to the queen to be killed and have her child killed. So I do get the complete distrust, because these are the same people. These aren't like different servants. These are the same people that she was with, and she trusted them, and they betrayed her, and they did give up her child to get eaten, which is crazy. But it's still like it sucks to see, because you can see that the servants clearly, some of them at least, clearly have tried and aren't all like this. It's just, the one person who was, you know, who did betray her was, the important one, because that's the one that fucked her up. And she did overhear them talking badly about her. Her first death was her best friend. It's true. That's true. That's also true. Chronotopia makes a good case for therapy given how badly Kiona needs it. For real. Phew. Ahem. Despite Medea's intervention, the situation remained unchanged. Kiona could have stayed passive for months, years even, if an event had not suddenly restored her will. Oh no. One day, while the princes were sitting motionless on the patio, at the mercy of the bad weather, a trembling retainer came to find her. Uh-oh. He had just drawn the short straw, unlike his stooges, and was cursing his bad luck, for he had no desire to deliver the message. Madam, the queen is asking to see you at the castle. The queen? Herself. She has heard about your delivery and wishes to meet you in person. Little Moon is naturally invited as well. Tell her I accept the proposal. A dark flame rekindled in her eyes. Moments after, she hatched a plan to make the truth emerge. She would catch Seraphine red-handed. For the first time in months, she interrogated those among her servants that she deemed the easiest to convince. These guys, they hate her the most! She promised the sun, moon, and stars should they accept to protect her against the queen, should they accept to murder her. Too frightened by such obvious hostility, they swore loyalty to her. Fiona went to bed satisfied, but so enraged that she could not sleep at all that night. All she could think about was how delightful it would be to feel her rival's bones crack between her fingers. She was staring at the ceiling of her room, a demented smile on her lips. As she had been invited to, the princess took place in the carriage at daybreak, her daughter at her side. She was so eager to reach the castle, the ride seemed interminable. As the towers were emerging from the mist, she was swinging her legs back and forth. Good. Once she had set her foot in the castle, she followed her escort to the banquet hall, expecting an attack, but nothing happened. Confusion spread to her mind when a silhouette walked towards her. Welcome to our humble abode, Lady Kiona. She recognized her rival and stepped back. No, she's not insane this time. She is the one who wants to harm me. Catch her this instant. The retainers stared at each other without moving an inch. She wants to kill me, I know it. The invitation is merely a trap to steal my child and slit my throat. Murmurs spread across the audience. Expressions became disapproving. Lady Kiona, I don't know who put the idea in your head,
We have never met before, at least not to my knowledge. How can you be so sure that I am the bloodthirsty monster that you're describing?" The young Moor stuttered for a moment before collecting herself, almost desperately. "I know it, that is all. I saw you with my very own eyes. You tried to murder me." The servant spoke, and then another. "How can you think that we're gonna believe you? You have no proof." "That's right. When and where have you seen Lady Seraphine commit those crimes?" Confounded, Kiona raised her big lost eyes towards the queen. She was gazing back at her with a curious and friendly smile. The expression full of hatred she had glimpsed before was nowhere to be found. Worse still, she seemed genuinely to have good intentions. "This is a conspiracy, is it not? Every single one of you is my enemy. I have known it since the beginning." Calm down, calm down." Prince Thali suddenly appeared beside his wife. "Lord, how is it possible? You should have been on a business trip." "A trip? Who told you such a thing? Nothing of the sort was planned." The heiress stayed speechless, unable to grasp what was happening before her. "But you should have been. She was taking advantage of your absence to lay a trap." "Rather, you should be the one to explain your recent behavior, my lady. Do not withhold anything anymore. I have been told the whole story." Uh-oh. What Kiona was unaware of is that, true to their word, the Claremont retainers had indeed reported their worries to the sovereign a few days prior. "Lord Thali, the woman you brought here, she has demon blood. She bathes every night, breaks everything in the house, refuses to talk to anyone. She hits us, insults us, humiliates us from morning to night, and worse still, many of us don't feel safe anymore because of her threats. She got Gregoire drunk and crept into your room to search it. She smacked Gemma because she was refusing to leave her alone with a peddler. He intervened and she was treated the same way, to an extent that he ran away. If you don't remedy the situation soon, we will look for employment elsewhere." That's very serious accusations. I hope you can support those claims. "Absolutely. We have plenty of testimonies and evidences. Trust us, my lord." "We merely want the best for you. That woman is clearly unwell. She's a threat to herself and other people." "Besides, she neglects little Moon. We never saw her so much as touch her." "Thank you for having the courage to inform me. I will give it some thought and investigate myself." They reported her to HR. It really feels that way. Thank God. Once the reports were finished, the subjects bowed and took their leave. On their way, they met Lady Seraphine, who was precisely coming to have a discussion with her husband. "Ma, what was that procession? Some bad news?" "You're correct, I'm afraid. Do you recall that person I talked to you about?" "Your most recent mistress? The one who had to flee her country?" "Lady Kiona seems to have become tyrannical. She's terrorizing the retainers, and I believe it's my fault. By revealing your existence, I have most probably broken her heart, and she's now taking it out on the poor people. I don't know how to solve this thorny problem." "Why not summon her here? A change of scenery would surely do her some good. Then we could have a one-to-one discussion together. There is likely repressed jealousy on both sides. It is therefore important to clear the air before it escalates." "Do you believe so?" "We have more in common than you think. Her distress touches me. I recognize myself in her, and I would very much like to meet her." I'm so happy for Seraphine in this timeline. At least she's happy. At least she seems like healed and, doing well, because she was not doing well previously. But it seems we've taken her place, so, someone has to go crazy, I guess. Would you happen to have something in the back of your mind? You are overestimating my abilities, my lord. I was merely hoping we could reach an agreement. Thus, no one would be unhappy. Fiona let herself fall to the ground, like she'd been struck by lightning. The realization was so powerful, it penetrated her soul, and she suddenly started convulsing. Frightened, all the people in the room moved aside, but not without taking Moon away from her mother beforehand. Eyes wide open, foaming at the mouth, the princess began to howl. She had never howled before. Experiencing a frenzied episode, she was starting to tear her hair out, to bang her head against the wall, all the while never stopping to yell savagely. All this time, she had been chasing a chimera, an illusion. She was now realizing all too well Medea had been right. Always trust the fairy godmother. She had attempted to warn her, told her it was impossible to flawlessly repeat the events of a timeline, and she did not listen, the imbecile. Upon returning to Claremont, she had altered small details, seemingly minimal things, but details had accumulated. And one thing led to another. The outcome was now completely different. On this timeline, Seraphine had never given way to despair. Kiona had instead. For the people witnessing the incident, there was no longer anything human about the young Moor. She had become the splitting image of a witch, disheveled, with a distorted face and crazed eyes. Horrified, the servants cried out, "Look at her! She's possessed by the devil! She needs to be exorcised quickly before she contaminates us all!" The prince, as distressed as the others, thought it right to intervene. "I do not believe she is under a demonic influence. She is only attacking herself and does not speak the language of the devil." "What would you recommend, my lord? We cannot leave her in this state." Kali immediately saw an opportunity to exploit. It so happened he was precisely considering making Moon come to the castle. His people would be delighted to know his lineage is continued. What a shame it was his mistress was not presentable. Retainers already hated her due to her despicable conduct. She would certainly never enjoy a good reputation with them. How convenient. There was a great temptation to do something to both appease them and improve his own image. The prince sighed deeply. "I'm afraid it is too late for her. Her mind is broken. I do not know what could have produced such an effect, but it would be better to put an end to her misery once and for all." Seraphine let out a yelp of surprise. "Are you certain? Is there no other way to save her?" "My subjects warned me that she refused to be treated. I fear we have no choice but to put her to rest." With a hand signal, the sovereign gestured to his servants to grab her former mistress in order to contain her. No hesitation. No hesitation. They immediately dragged her by force to the dungeon, where she was thrown in while awaiting sentence. Her grunts turned to insults. "Dogs, heretics, you have no right to do this to me." She threw herself on the bars, did her best to wring them, bite them, but nothing would do. She was trapped. As her dark rage drained her of her strength, she eventually sat down on the wooden board that was both her chair and bed. Faint halos of light were reaching her from her tiny windowsill. How did it get to this point? Her face buried in her hands, she sighed and cried her eyes out in the bleak silence of the prison. What was the result of my sacrifices? Those long months without rest, the constant nightmares. Have I accomplished nothing? Withdrawn into silence, she remained motionless for hours, clumsily trying to retrace the events that led her here, to find her errors, her crimes. As she was finally starting to atone for her sins, the king appeared before her with a serious look. "Madam, I regret to inform you of your impending execution. Tomorrow we will lock you in a barrel full of nails that have soaked in holy water and let it roll down a hill." What? That's one way to kill someone, I guess. So you are sentencing me to death without any qualms at all. And here I was thinking maybe he'd gotten a bit better. Maybe he was starting to learn things and change. I have a lot of them, on the contrary. The moments I have spent by your side were enjoyable, but it is clear my selfishness has destroyed you, and for that I am sorry. But at the very least, you have taught me, madam, not to flee difficulties anymore. Thanks! You couldn't have come up with an easier death, like poison? Anything?
Fiona grinded her teeth and scornfully looked at him. I am quite delighted to hear, Your Highness, that the villain that I am allowed the hero that you are to mature. What a wonderful story. I must disappear because I am a hindrance who impedes your desire to make a fresh start. Is that how you thank me for giving you the child you are waiting for so long? No, Lord Thali, the ghosts of all your victims will come back to haunt you, because I am not the only one you have broken, am I? The monarch uncomfortably averted his eyes as his silence told her everything she needed to know. To think that I was genuinely starting to grow attached to you, how naive I was. Farewell, madam. Oh. The prince walked away without even looking at her, blowing her heart to shambles. What a fool, truly. I decidedly have no discernment when it comes to love. First Griselda, now Thali. I can't tell who's worse. I'm gonna go with Griselda because he was actually terrible. But Thali is really getting up there. An abusive, bad-tempered man and a dishonest coward. What will the next one be? A possessive, jealous man? Maybe we just need to cut out the men, you know? I think the men are just a problem here. The bar is on the floor. The bar is underneath the floor. It's below sea level. Just like Kiona was in the first timeline. Which I still think was the best one, which makes sense because it was the first one. But I would rather be with a bunch of villagers that might drown us in the future, but be happy for most of it than this. As Kiona, I felt an indirect insult. No. The men like this. Men like this. As Kiona was wringing her hands in dismay, the sound of footsteps echoed in the prison corridor. She paid no attention to it until the echo stopped right in front of the cell. Oh, hey, girl! Upon turning her gaze, she was taken aback to see Lady Seraphine holding little Moon in her arms, all wrapped in swaddling clothes. I apologize for intruding, but I had to visit you before it was too late. Laugh at me, I presume. Go ahead, treat yourself. To tell the truth, I wanted to thank you. Thank me? My relationship with Prince Thali had greatly deteriorated those last few years. I was convinced that he did not want me anymore, that he was going to repudiate me. I was on the brink of falling into despair, and then something changed in him the day he met you. He became more considerate. He started talking to me again. I was so happy. She marked a pause before continuing. I don't know what could have happened for you to consider me your worst enemy, but I swear I've never meant you harm. I understand all too well your pain, because I have lived through it as well. After all, it could have been me in that cell. I could have crossed the line and lashed out at you by committing regrettable acts. You did. But one way or another, it is as if you had taken a weight off my shoulders to put it on yours instead. I would like to thank you for that, even if it may seem strange to you. You're welcome. What a thing to say right before she's about to be rolled down a hill in a barrel full of nails. There's nothing strange about that. Really? That is a relief. Seraphine looked nervous. I am determined to adopt Moon. I admittedly cannot have a daughter, but I promise you to treat her as if she was my own. Your sacrifice will not be in vain. A tear rolled down the cheek of the young Moor when she heard those words. Is it really true? The queen thought Kiona was talking about the newborn baby and spoke in the gentlest tone she could. I assure you of that. Moon moaned in her sleep. The queen lovingly gazed at her. I will take great care of her, however. My understanding is you have yet to give her a name, and I'm quite reluctant to choose one in your place. Would you not find her a name? The princess shook her head. That is very kind of you, but she is your daughter now. I will let you have this honor. Really? Seraphine looked delighted. The gods then signaled to her that it was high time to leave. She nodded before facing her rival one last time. Thank you for everything, Kiona. Footsteps made their way back, and the heiress could finally let her grief run wild.
Are they all happier without me? Valley is about to mend his ways. Seraphine has never succumbed to hatred. They can now start the family that they had always desired. All they need to do is let myself die to make 3 people happy. Well, and also the servants, but I don't want to die. I do not want to be perforated by that wretched barrel. Destiny can be so cruel. I keep telling you so from the very beginning. Surprised, the young woman jumped and inspected the room. No one was there. Only a mysterious shadow was looming over her. Godmother, is that you? Why am I unable to see you? Had I not told you that you would never see me again? I refused to appear before you. So you are still upset with me. What, did you seriously expect I would condone your unacceptable behavior? You're decidedly too accustomed to being spoiled, dear. The comment proved to be hard to swallow for Kiona, and she grumbled. Is that how you are seeking reconciliation? Reconciliation? Me? You are dreaming, my child. I have esteemed this time to be the best one for you to apologize. Apologize? What for? Maybe not right now, Medea. Maybe not right now is the best time. For treating me so poorly. Admit that you vented your puerile anger on me, and I am willing to forgive your folly. Wounded in her pride, the princess could not agree. She did know in her heart of hearts that she was the one responsible for this disaster, yet she could not admit it out loud. Even less so acknowledge the fairy had been right from the start. Yeah, maybe not now. Maybe in the future, yes, but not now. Therefore, she grimaced and muttered to herself, Since you have appeared by your own volition, why would you not go first? Have I misheard? You demand I be the one to apologize first for daring to dump you when you were insulting me right under my nose. I was not insulting you. Really? I have been far too generous to merely leave you to your own whims, when I could have silenced your impudence by breaking every single bone in your body with my mind. The creature's voice became fulminating. What does that mean? Very well. I'll no longer ask for a simple apology. You'll have to beg me to obtain that I spare your life. Beg? Never! It would be a disgrace for a person of my status. In that case, go to hell. Looks like it's calling to you. Karma! Kiona tried to mitigate the dispute, but it was already too late. The shadow had vanished. She then realized the horror of the situation. She was going to be executed at dawn, and she needed the fairy's power to break the deadlock. Biting her lips, the princess attempted to summon her godmother again. Medea, Medea, I urge you to come back. To no avail. My God, what have I done? Panic slowly but steadily set in her soul. Medea, I was mistaken to yell at you. I did not mean to do that. I apologize for what I have inflicted. Increasingly distraught, Kiona clamored her name for the rest of the night in the hope of appeasing her, but the creature remained deaf to her prayers. When the first rays of sun appeared through the bars of her cell, her self-importance had been completely annihilated. With eyes full of tears, she whimpered. She who had thought herself above death thanks to the fairy's pact, now looking with disgust at the darkness awaiting her. The princess was so worn out, she could not even struggle when the guards took her to the scaffold. The structure was quite basic, an assembly of wooden pots in the middle of a meadow. The audience was just as limited, as if the prince had wished to make her execution more intimate. In front of the instrument of her death, she cried even more and repeated her godmother's name over and over. This is like the one time that I'm actually considering like just letting herself die, and only because when we go back, she's gonna remember all of this, and that kind of sucks. That's like, like I feel, there's a point where I'm like, wait, this could just get worse and worse and worse for this poor girl. But I'll do it because I know that it will get better. It will get better. Medea! Medea! I urge you to save me!
The executioner thought she was delirious and barely paid attention to her. She... Uh-oh. Ah, there we go. She was thus placed in the barrel. Cramped and terrified in this makeshift coffin, she stared at the nails that were protruding on either sides. The nails that were about to penetrate her skin and rip her entrails. Ugh! No, no! Everything's ready, Your Majesty. We're only waiting on your green light.
Medea! No!
Kyona's screams rent the skies as a knife blade would.
Medea, have mercy, I beg of you. Everything but that.
Have I just heard the magic word?
I beg you, forgive my affront. I'll never do it again, I promise. Please make it so I can go back in time to undo my mistakes.
As she had obtained his master's approval, the executioner approached, ready to roll the barrel down the slope. Racked with terror, she screamed louder.
Medea!
Suddenly, at the very moment Kiona was dropped on the hill, booed by Thali's retainers, the magic circle appeared inside the barrel with a dazzling light. Whew. And then everything went to black. What a horrible way to go. Princess brutally regained consciousness on her bed, her breath taken away. Okay, this is the time to talk to Nahima and tell her everything. I know we've already done that before, but this time we need to like sit her down and be like, girl, listen, I don't care if you believe me or not, but we just need to do this together. Yeah, I don't know if I could read. I hate reading about torture so much. I actually hate it so much. That one scene in Fata Morgana with the finger breaking actually like broke me. I could not deal with it. I'm very glad we didn't have to go through that. In contrast to previous times, she was not directly assaulted by a flood of memories and sensations. Quite the contrary, the images of her past lives were only slowly, almost bit by bit, reaching her. Worse still, she didn't feel anything anymore. Not fear, nor sadness, nor pain. Thus, she blinked, dazed, in an extreme state of apathy. I don't like gore, so I won't write that kind of stuff, not in details. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate a fellow gore disliker. It's like you can still feel the weight of something happening without describing the intimate details of it. Kind of like with, you know, when people use like sexual assault as a shock factor kind of thing. And I'm like, did we really need that? Was that necessary? And it's usually never necessary, you know? To that same extent, I appreciate like not having that in this, you know, as like a, especially when they go like deep in descriptions, like this is not even for the story or the character development. This is just to like, you know, satisfy some kind of sick pleasure. That's how I feel about a lot of that. And with gore, it feels kind of similar where it's like, it feels more like it's there just to kind of like shock someone, but also like for people who like that sort of thing. And I'm like, no, just, I don't need to see all that stuff. It just makes me feel sick. Like the whipping with Griselda is already bad enough. We don't need assault. Exactly. The whipping was already terrible. We did not need anything more, you know? But I could very much see it being written in that way, and it would have like annoyed me so much. It would have just been like we didn't need that. It's bad enough what happened. That whole bit with Griselda was horrendous, and it's like you can make someone feel sick without describing every intimate detail about it, and without throwing in extra things that are just there for shock. So I appreciate that. I want to say that. I appreciate that there wasn't any of that in the story so far. And, you know, presumably in the future. So thank you for giving the kind of impact more so in the psychology of the character and less so in everything else. Though having repeated close experiences with death, trauma after trauma, she had eventually lost track of herself and did not understand where she was or who she was. She hazily recalled being a farmer who was taking care of her little sister in the countryside. At the same time, it seemed to her that she had been
chambermaid, cook, or washerwoman, and had served a lord. Yet she also had the hazy recollection of her courtesan life for a completely different king. Oh, so the memories are now starting to just become like stories to her that she's been a part of, but she doesn't remember them as personal stories, like memories. That's a good time for me to go to bed. I'm glad to watch you again. It's always fun despite the not fun stories. Have a lovely rest, and thank you again for making the game. And I hope to see you again. We'll try and have a good evening. I don't know if we can. I'm not going to be going on too much longer after this anyway, since we got through this whole story. But I want to see kind of where we go here. The place she had found herself in prompted other confusing memories she struggled to put into order. Which one of all those realities was hers? At the very moment, the young woman was convinced that some fragments of her memory were fake or mere dreams. Indeed, how could she have lived all those things at the same time? That's called disassociation, girl. That's called PTSD. There could only be one answer. Then who was she? A farmer, a servant, a courtesan, or a princess? Nahima will know. Upon seeing her clumsily getting back on her feet, eyes fixed on an imaginary sky, Nahima immediately realized something was off. Is everything all right, princess? You seem lost. Princess? Is that what I am? But everything else, what does it mean? If that's supposed to be a joke, it's not very funny. Of course you're an heiress. Who else could you be? I think I am a farmer who lives in a hamlet with her family. My father is injured and my mother is taking care of him. And I have a sister whom I adore. What is her name again? Princess, what are you talking about? You've never been outside the castle. Then I must be a servant. Others make fun of my garb and I need to prove my worth. I believe the royal steward took me in. Perhaps you know her. She is a woman on the plump side, very kind. I remember her. She was one of the good ones. The royal steward? I've never heard of a person who could fit the description. I've been living here for years. That is right. Who are you? I often see you in my dreams. Are we friends? Princess, you're worrying me more and more. You seemed perfectly fine earlier. What happened? Confidence started to panic and tried to gently shake Kiona to make her return to her senses. It is me, Nahima, your personal court lady. Please tell me you know who I am. I think I do, but you do not seem to exist in all the places I have visited. That is odd. Am I a traveler? Good heavens, could it be you hit your head on the edge of the bed without my knowledge? Or has one of the godmother's spells gone out of hand? It boggles the mind. Distraught, the young Moor began to flail around. What should I do? What should I do? Think, Nahima, there must be an explanation. Not knowing what to do, she ventured to call the fairy aloud, convinced she would know how to cure the mysterious disease. Ayo, fairy, are you there? If you are, please answer. It's horrible. The princess has lost her memory. Do not fret. It is only temporary. Stunned, Nahima turned and noticed a fairy, quietly sitting on the edge of the window. Usually, she would have been struck by her extraordinary appearance, as it had been the case during previous timelines. But this time, the health of the heiress was at stake. She could not afford to pay attention to such a minor matter. She therefore showed little signs of being disturbed. So you know the origin of her disease, madam? Absolutely. Our princess simply abused my magic. She's now experiencing some of the consequences. How is that possible? We were thinking of a plan so she could escape her father a moment ago. You tell me she's already asked for your assistance? Medea closed her eyes pensively. You should not hear it from my mouth, but it's not good to push you to the sideline either. Given the state your mistress is in, I will take it over. How does she remember all of this? Previously, the fairy never remembered when we went back in time.
She just knew that we did.
Or she had a feeling. She had an inkling. Leaving Kiona to amnesia, she complied.
The reality you know has been distorted by magic. To you, the innocent discussion dates back to a few minutes, no more. To the princess, it dates back to several months.
Several months?
In reality, Kiona already made her choice and left the castle. However, her plan was foiled and she decided to use magic.
And this is when the spell turned against her?
Let us say it this way. Her wish was to roll back time in order to revise her plan. Unfortunately, she's been trying the same move many more times now, and my magic is starting to negatively impact her psyche.
So you know everything.
The two women turned around. Kiona had stood up, life seemingly back in her eyes. She might cast a spell to preserve her memories just in case, even though she shouldn't interfere. Oh, okay. I do remember her saying that. I see you finally come to your senses.
Princess, is everything all right?
It is fine, Nahima. I remember everything. I simply need some time.
What a relief.
I owe you an apology, Godmother. I acted very, very poorly the last few times we saw each other. I don't hold grudges, eh? Do make sure you're more careful next time. I rarely give second chances. I do not know if I should thank or curse heaven for you seem aware of everything this time. How come? Nothing riveting. Since you confessed going astray early on in the last timeline, I cast a spell to keep some of my memories when you would turn back time again. Indeed, you cannot hide anything from me anymore.
I see. For the best, probably. In her heart of hearts, the young Moor was feeling something like relief.
It hardly was to advantage the fairy remembered how she had insulted her. Kiona felt oddly calm. A tiny part of her burden had been removed. Every time she turned back the clock, she would erase what she had gone through, good and bad things alike. It did not matter since no one remembered. Yet she was not entirely alone this time. Medea knew, and Nahima too.
See, you're friends! Is she telling the truth? Have you traveled through time? I was not aware that you would experience all those things in my absence.
It is fine, Nahima. I tried to tell you the first few times, but you did not believe me. I eventually gave up.
I am sincerely sorry. I can't
exactly fault you for that. Creating distortions in the fabric of time should be impossible. How could you ever believe me? Besides, this is all history now. That reality no longer exists.
The princess lowered her eyes with such a heavy look, a look so filled with sorrow that Nahima's heart sank, and she did not dare say anything again.
One mystery remains, Godmother. I get the impression that I have radically changed my approach with each timeline. Yet they all ended in unspeakable cruelty. What could I so systematically do wrong? I thought I was too distrustful, so I wanted to become friendlier, more open-minded. Then I thought I was too kind, too naive, and I tried to become stronger, to inspire fear. What more can I do to break out of this vicious cycle? You're looking at it the wrong way, love. I already told you, you have lost sight of your goal for some time. You need to find it again to light the way. I know I already told you, but you cannot rely on my magic forever. What do you mean? Have you noticed how difficult it was to wake up this time compared to your previous temporal incursions? Evidently something is different. Perhaps it is because you saved me at the last minute. Actually, that's not how the fairy's power works. You never escaped death to begin with. Yet I am living proof of that. Remember my advice. I had expressly requested you be clear in the wording of your wish. The reason for that is simple. My magic adapts itself to your wish. As it happens, you did not ask to survive an execution, but to go back in time. I am afraid I do not understand. Is the result not the same? Hear me out. The other Kionas are dead. The truth is, you really did die several times. I did not save you.
Pardon? You left the princess to die?
Exactly. Since my memories have preserved, I can Confirm that you were pierced by the barrel spikes a couple of seconds after my incantation. After shrieks beyond imagination, they left you to rot there, torn to shreds, but still alive. Impaled on those nails, you were unable to extract yourself from the barrel and died of bleeding after several long hours. The king then disposed of your body, which was quite a sorry sight, inasmuch as you were recognizable. In your last breath, with one eye punctured, you cursed me, as you likely cursed me the previous times, believing I had betrayed you. I do not understand. You claim to have failed? No, my spell worked perfectly. Thanks to my magic, your consciousness was saved and sent back to your body before the tragedy happened. I use the same principle in order to become your equal in this timeline, nothing more. Why are you telling me this? The reason is quite simple. With each new journey, your doppelganger dies and life goes on for the people you left behind. There are now several realities in which you are no more, and I am freed from the pact. But what interests us here is the way my magic operates. Kiona from the original timeline is lying on the bed when her consciousness from an alternate timeline reaches her and attempts to infiltrate her mind to supplant the previous one. According to you, what makes the transition possible? Time is absorbing itself? I don't know. I'm assuming it's just that our brain keeps pushing out more of ourselves. I have no idea. I am unfortunately not a mage like you. Oh, come on, you're not even doing an effort at reflection. That is disappointing. Very disappointing. Dare I remind you, we are currently discussing the dangers that threaten your existence. I know this too well. Try to invest yourself a little more if that's the case. Yes, Godmother. Still, you need to answer. The answer to fall straight into your lap. Here it is. At the time of your awakening, the two consciousnesses are theoretically equal, as both are convinced they come from the real Kiona. But your alternative being has a major advantage, the trauma of death, a powerful fear, an inconsolable sadness, and a fierce hatred. Your last moments are so intense that those memories easily prevail, and indeed, your emotions are what previously allowed the transition to happen. If that logic is followed, should I not be able to remember more than one life at a time? Not at all, because you have assimilated an increasing amount of timelines with each new attempt. The most recent one always wins eventually, as it is the most imposing. In that case, my loss should have been just as successful. That is where our problem appears. This time, you did not experience strong emotions when you died, except for the failure to grasp what was happening. You were in such confusion, your memories thus struggle to return to your body and replace your former self. Furthermore, even though you are collecting an ever-increasing amount of experiences, it is still difficult for your mind to clearly demarcate the different timelines, making them blend in your head over time. It was especially obvious at Claremont because, despite my warnings, you made the folly of wanting to replicate what you had been through exactly as it was before. Is it really necessary to reopen the wound? As long as the lesson has not been learned. I believe you are now visualizing, rather well, the harm there is in disconnecting yourself from reality. That is not your only issue. There's more bad news. Oh. You had promised that your magic would not be dangerous. I've never lied, dear. Kiona had always been warned that she needed to make good use of the fairy's power to avoid unfortunate consequences. She abused my spell by repeatedly making wishes instead of paying the fairy's tribute, as indicated in our pact. I shall not be liable in case of cheating. That is enough, Nahima. Medea is right. This is entirely my fault. I would like to point out nothing obligates me to help you. I'm nonetheless doing everything I can to find a solution, and I'm grateful for that, Godmother. Lady Medea, is that it? If the princess puts her trust in you, I will do the same. Very well. I would like to add this. Your new consciousness is admittedly fraught with memories, often intense ones, but it is also becoming less and less compatible. What do you mean by that? By gaining experience, you are bound to become another person. You are changing. While this is positive in itself, it does create a rupture with the one you were during the night of our pact. As you travel through time, the old Kiona drifts away, and your body might reject the new consciousness at some point. If the fusion becomes this perilous and you still force a new memories to enter, your psyche might eventually break. So we can't do this forever. No less. I must reassure you. That's only a hypothesis. I cannot know exactly what would happen if your psyche were to be damaged. But I do consider the situation serious enough for you to take more time to develop a strategy. I understand. Thank you for your concern, Godmother. Very blinked, taken aback. Have I ever mentioned being worried? Indeed you have not. However, you would not have given advice if you did not care a bit about me, would you? In response, Medea looked away, embarrassed. Think a little bit longer before taking a decision this time. And then she unceremoniously vanished. And I think that is a good place to stop for today before we come up with a new plan. I'm gonna save. Oh my god, my throat is exhausted and my brain is exhausted. That was a very exhausting timeline. But hopefully the next one is going to be, this one is going to be like the one. This is going to be the one. And hopefully it is a good one. Because now we have Nahima helping us. So maybe we'll take her with us and it'll be great. And everything will be perfect. I don't know. Maybe. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go rest up my throat and leave. I feel like, yeah, the big lesson about like not messing with the timeline too much, listening to the fairy, and relying on Nahima a bit more instead of lying and leaving her out of everything. I think that's the important thing here. I think we need her. I've always thought that. But Kiona is obviously going through her own shit, and she's not thinking about things all the time. She's thinking about the here and now, mostly. So, now she can think about the right things. Alright, we'll continue this next week. Do you want to read a page of Hercules? No, I don't want to. For once in my life, for once in my short life, I don't want to read a page. God damn it, Sage. One page to quell the torture that we've been through, maybe. And I'll stick to just one page. We're on page 222. A Blood of Hercules. I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand, then barely stopped myself from face planting. What the fuck is all the noise? General Cleandro stomped in, and Professor Augustus followed him with a worried expression. When he saw me, his face transformed into a hateful scowl. They both stopped. Blinked as they took in the scene. Slowly, the two men, brackets, towering behemoths who looked like they belonged on a battlefield, walked over to where Alessandra was passed out cold. Covered in a broken chair and stuff, aka my regurgitated bile. Next was fallen friend. Titus staggered to his feet, clutching his crotch like a pervert. What happened here? General Cleandro asked slowly. Augustus glared at me accusingly with soulless dark eyes, rubies gleaming on his head in the library's firelight. Out of respect for his authority, brackets pure fear, I stared at the floor. Titus sputtered. General Cleandro held his hand up. I just want to remind you, he said softly, that if anyone has been fighting for any reason, you will all run the circuit until your feet are bloody stumps. Then you'll run it some more.
Titus's teeth clicked as he snapped his mouth shut.
So I'll ask again, General Cleander said. What the fuck happened to you?
Cassius spoke quickly.
It was just... Titus. The general cut Cassius off and pointed at the blood-covered boy. Titus will tell me what happened.
The silence was so charged that if a match had been lit, the air would have exploded. After an excruciatingly long pause, Titus whispered, Alessandro fell out of his chair, and when he fell, the chair also hit me, ... and ... That's why we both fell on the ground. I glanced up. General Cleandro stared at Titus with an unreadable expression, and Augustus was still glaring at me.
And that is what happened after I thought we killed one of them, but maybe we didn't. Anyway, that's where we're at. And on that note, what a beautiful time to end the actual stream.